Fellow puppies and kittens, welcome to what may well be the last episode of this 41-month-long series of Quran lessons for the infidel. We're hoping to get through this one today, and then I'm going to be traveling for a bit, so I won't be able to do a follow up soon. So hopefully we'll get done today. And Bogey, as usual, you have notes for this show. And by the way, Bogey, I want to thank you for having all of these notes, for doing the research that you've done, so that we can have a show for these last 41 months. I just wanted to make a formal thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And then, of course, thank you for all of the people that have joined in and become a team. I'm missing a couple of people tonight that, for various reasons, haven't been able to join us. Mubarak and Diana, you guys are missed. And happy to have the people we have. Welcome back, Talal.
Oh, yes. Long time no see. I'm sorry. I've been extremely busy, but I've been watching all the sessions. I thought I will say the final goodbye today as well. I am.
Very good. Okay, and Mohammed, Khalid, Anton, welcome. And Bogey, go ahead, take it away.
Yippers. Did we stop at 54 the last time?
Oh, I knew so. I should have taken a note about where we stopped.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Okay.
So we can continue, and my next note is 60, by the way.
Are we doing a Toba, yes?
Yes, we are. We are doing that, yes.
Okay.
We're not doing the Toba, though. We're just doing the Toba.
Oh, yes. Are we doing the Surah? Verse 29?
54, and my next note is 960.
960.
Okay, let's go.
I restart my computer recently, so I don't have all the notes pulled up. I'm still scrambling to get them up here.
Yeah, it's okay.
I can read it.
Just get there, sync up, and I will start because it's kind of a bit windy. I was hoping somebody had a note before that, but if there isn't, we go for 60. And 60 is a legislation
the Zakat.
on sadaqa, not the Zakat. Interestingly enough, not the Zakat, it's for the sadaqa, right?
Can you explain that a bit?
The alms. So there are three types of money going from the people to the Islamic State, as it is. One of them is the jizya, which you pay if you fought them and you're not a Muslim in an Islamic country, so you pay that. One of them is the zakat, which every Muslim pays. It's the normal standard tax. And here comes this alms, this sadaqa, which is, it turns out to be quite mandatory, but its quantity isn't actually defined all that well. But here is a verse telling who gets it and who pays it, right? So the people pay it as a matter of, yes, it's mandatory to do sadaqah, but it does not, the Quran does not say how much it should be. Like, unlike the cat, which is the quarter of a tenth, it's codified, it's clear as day, right? That there's a percentage number there. Neither the jizya is codified as how much it should be, nor the alms, the sadaqa, is still not codified, and we're right at the end of the book. So we have 60, which basically says the verse states who it is for, that who gets the money and the value and the items that were given in the form of sadaqah, right? So the first criteria is the poor. The second is the needy, which is kind of interesting here. The needy, they may not be necessarily poor, but they need something. Like, for example, somebody is working, has got, making money, but he needs a laptop and he just can't afford one. And if somebody does a sadaqah in the form of a laptop, then you can give it to this kind of needy, right? So he might even have a job and he works and he can pay his rent and everything else, but he needs a laptop and he can't get one, right? 3, those who collect it. Well, those be the tax collectors. So they can take some of that zakat. In essence, this would qualify as the state, but then we see the other items and we'll see, oh, okay. Number 4, those who might become Muslims if they get some money. Some people just need a notch in the pocket, you know.
I'm a little confused. They might become Muslims if they get some money.
Yes.
It's kind of encouragement. They call it. Some people refer to it as a corruption, a positive corruption, but it's an encouragement for those who are on the fence. They may be waiting to be a Muslim. They need a bit of encouragement to see how Islam is good. But let's tempt them with a bit of money to start with.
Okay.
And you can use the sadaqa money for that. This is you get the sadaqa, and this is the regulating verse for where you can spend it, right? Number 5, to free Muslim slaves held by non-Muslims, of course. So that's an item there. So you can actually buy the slaves from infidel owners and free them with it. Number 6, those who are in debt, student debt forgiveness. Is this an early version of a student debt forgiveness program? We're talking about people who get themselves in debt and then they can't pay it off. Number 7, in the name of Allah, and this is kind of like gets the apologists riling, to build mosques, print Qurans, and buy weapons for war, etc. Because in the name of Allah, you can do these things. And if it only specifies in the name of Allah, yes, there are peaceful means to spend it in certain ways that it will be in the name of Allah. You can build a mosque, right? That's in the name of Allah. You can print Qurans, and a lot of organizations who actually give away free Qurans are getting some of this money to print the Qurans, because printing, even today, still costs money. And of course, buy weapons of war. It's in the name of Allah, so it's okay. Number 8 is the traveler. Those people who travel from long distances and get stuck and they can't continue their journey because either they ran out of money or something. So you can give them some money so they can continue their journey and move on. And
so one of my versions says that those travelers, even if they are not really needy, you can still give them just so they can go back to whatever it is that
the essence here is they would be needy, but the thing that why this is here, it is because they are travelers who may not necessarily be needy at home. They might be wealthy at home from where
that's
they
what I
come
mean.
from, right? But they ran out of money and now they're stuck here, and it's not like you can go to the ATM and dial some money up for yourself. Those days you actually had to have the cash on your pocket to call it money that you can spend. So if you get stuck there and you can't continue your journey, you can get some of this money to be able to continue your journey. Note, it does not state how much sadaqa is, which is obviously leaves it as a how much is it question, as opposite to zakat, which is quite specific. Okay, so this is 60. Any comments on 60?
Yes, some interpretation, well, to my knowledge, they have specified this sadaqat. Actually, sadaqat is three parts or 3 categories. It's the charity as a charity, people who want to donate to help Muslim and Muslim community. The main one is zakat, which is 2.5% per 100 for those who can afford it, and there is a criteria for that. And the third one is the jizya. Now, some interpreter says here, in particular, this I refer to zakat. So they're mainly talking about zakat. When they gather the zakat, it goes to the treasury of the Muslim community, and how we distribute that. Well, some of them, they said that's specifically for the zakat. Second things, in the name of Allah and the path of Allah, they have talked about to spread the message of Islam. So you need to assist those who goes, and they need to spread that message wherever they go and as far as they go, so that they need to be allocated a sum of money. So these are the 2 points I want to mention here.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to add what Talal said. That's generally exactly right, that the sadaqat here are interpreted as being the zakat, even though I fully agree with what Bogi said. Quranically, this is not the zakat. So the zakat has been going on for, from the beginning of Islam, and it's like right at the end. So it's really what this is really the what Muslims call the zakat now. This is this sadaqat in the Quran, whereas what Muslims call the zakat is just the voluntary charity in the Quran. So there's that distinction. I think we talked a little bit about it with Diana one time, and I was telling her what I think that the Shia have it the opposite way from the Muslims. So in Shia, generally the sadaqat are considered the 2.5%, and the zakat is voluntary charity, which I think is more correct.
Yeah, that's my
Quranically.
understanding too, that the sadaqa is voluntary, but there it says take it from them. So is it voluntary now, right?
Yeah, I mean, this one is saying this is the farida. So at the end of this verse, it says farida min Allah, obligatory. So this sadaqat is obligatory sadaqat.
Now, it might actually understand farida as to these are the places you can spend the voluntarily collected money.
Yeah, that could work.
You see what I'm
guess,
going
yeah.
here. So there is the zakat. The zakat is already codified prior. The same items, but it's codified as zakat, right? And you have to pay the zakat every year. Versus the sadaqah, you might be feeling generous today and donate a whole arsenal of guns to the charity house, and now they have, weapons to spread the word of Allah around the world. So this is farida as in terms of where can you spend this extra money, right?
Yeah, I mean, it could be like that way. The
Well,
only other thing
I
that
would
that
think,
meant,
sorry, but I beg your pardon. I would think the reason is why it is specified as zakat, because when you have to spend charity, you do not have. You can give to anyone who you feel he needs or she needs. So that's not obligatory. You can go to see your neighbor and feel their need, and you can give them, and nobody should know that you gave them. I mean, the best that not to tell anybody. You should not know your right hand what your left hand has spent. And that's why they refer this as zakat, because zakat, it is obligatory, and it need to be given to a certain particular people who collect it or they look after it. This is why we are saying that's more specific about zakat, not about all the charities and jizya. Both
yeah,
of
no, I
them.
mean, I agree.
However,
Like I said, I agree with you. It's just that when you look in the Quran, you never find that the idea of zakat of being something which is 2.5%. It's not in the Quran. So, but the Muslim scholars, exactly like you said, they interpret this verse as being about the zakat. That's
yeah,
the
there's no difference
traditional.
anyway.
Yeah,
We're just trying to highlight why it should be allocated, because there is
yeah,
the treasury of the Muslims are looking after zakat, not everybody else. That's
yeah.
what we
That's right.
referred to.
Yeah. The only thing I'd also say is it says, of course, here in the freeing of slaves. I mean, Bogi said that, and to free Muslim slaves. It doesn't say Muslim slaves or believing slaves. Just in the freeing of slaves. It's general.
Free what? Sorry, I beg your pardon.
So the verse says in the freeing of slaves. So it doesn't have to be Muslim slaves. Part of the
Well, there is no
sadaqat
specific.
thing. Yeah,
That
it's
is
not
an interpret.
specified.
Sorry, I disagree with that. That's an interpretation. Basically, a Muslim slaves usually need to be Muslim at the end of the day. If you have non-Muslim slave, it's your duty to make them Muslim one way or another. So that's basically referred. I mean, there's nothing would tell me it's any slave to be freed. That's just an interpretation of some to say that Islam is really carry about all the slaves, which is not the case. There is
No,
no
I mean,
specific proof.
I
I'm
don't
just
see how
saying.
you. I don't see how you're saying its interpretation. The verse says وَفِي الرِّقَابِ, and in slaves, to be spent for
And
the freedom of
nevertheless, we're
slaves.
not going to disagree
So it's
here,
general,
but
right?
there's nothing specific says. Well, we go back to slavery and says Islam has never ever forbidden or stopped slavery. That's good enough for me. Whether you
Okay, no,
slave,
I know.
whether you
I was
free.
just saying that this isn't saying to free Muslim slaves.
Well, so
That's all. Like you said,
why?
there's
Why?
nothing specific.
How? Okay, just let's get to that frame of mind. Okay, how would you free a non-Muslim slave, and why would you do it?
You buy them and free them.
Yeah, in that case, you could do that. Yeah.
But
Yeah, I mean,
then
the
why
verse
would
you're saying
you
What's
is
do?
your objective? What's your
Now you
objective?
have more free infidels in your town.
Yeah, well, it just says.
Of course, if it was a
slaves.
moral
It's
God, it
part of
wouldn't
it.
have allowed slavery in the first
Right,
place. And if
correct.
people were going to be freed, you wouldn't have to be out your finances to buy them before you free them. It would be that the people who bought them, it would be just be like, human trafficking is now. It was legal then, slavery was legal then. Now we have slavery illegal in most places, but human trafficking is still illegal in most places, but it's still going on, right? So this holy book would have prohibited both. Right? It would be treated the same way. It's not that we found you have a basement full of children that you're hoarding for whatever illicit purpose, and now we have to buy them from you in order to free them. No, that's not how that works. We take you away in chains, and they're automatically free.
Right.
Yeah, well, I don't want to get into the whole
the
issue
Quran
of
would
slavery.
have easily said no slavery in Islam, period.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, I don't want to get into that. But
La riqaba fil Islam. Just one short verse and not abrogated later on with something stupid.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
That's all it had to say.
I think
That's
it's got
all
a
it had.
long.
This book, remember, had the power to ban alcohol. It did it in 3 parts, but it did have the power. Try that today. It would be hard. It would be hard in any time in humanity to say, well, thou shalt not drink alcohol. Okay.
Man, Boogie, like forget about all these verses. The Bilal, the prophet, the slave.
What happened to him?
Yeah, he was among the very first people to become a Muslim, right?
Right.
And he was tortured, and this is the very beginning. When the prophet was still in Mecca, and the prophet died, and Bilal was still a slave, and he asked Abu Bakr to free him.
No, that's not true. He was freed by Abu Bakr himself. And
that's why he asked him.
That's why he asked. He told him,
No.
"If you bought me for the sake of Allah, free me for the sake of Allah."
No, it's basically at the end he was Abu Bakr was trying to coerce him into staying to continue in the function of the muezzin, and he didn't want to do that. He wanted to leave and go to Syria because he didn't like the way things had changed. So he didn't want to be given
I don't
that.
see how this is relevant, to be honest.
No, okay,
I
it's
don't
not
know.
relevant, but it's just now I'm going to.
It's a question I wanted to ask as we are reading this surah and the one after it. What's up with Bilal? Is he still a slave?
No.
And
He
the
was
answer
freed
is
in the beginning.
no. He
of Islam by Abu
wasn't.
Bakr.
No, he wasn't freed.
He was indeed.
No, he was still doing. He was doing call to prayer. Here, he's still a slave.
No, the person who's doing the call to prayer doesn't have to be a slave. He was
Okay,
freed.
If
Abu Bakr.
Bilal has left the town and went to a place where nobody believed in Islam, okay, that makes no sense at all, right? What makes sense is when the Islamic conquest reached Syria 70 years later, Bilal might have moved to Syria and thus gained his freedom because his owner set him free. But there's nothing in the Quran that says he should be set free.
Well, anyway, let's not dwell on one individual person of Bilal. Anybody can search up his biography online. He was freed in the beginning of Islam.
I'm under the impression we picked up on a rikab, that is any slave, not necessarily Muslim. We are trying to be a little bit biased here. So let's be unbiased, irrespective who is the slave, Muslim or non-Muslim. Slavery is valid and still valid up till this moment in Islam. Let's admit that. We talk about something else later.
We kind of finished the book at this moment.
Particular point, you know.
Let's
Yeah,
just
let's
carry
move
on.
on to the next verse.
Okay.
Okay, 63 is my next point, unless somebody has something before that.
Nope.
No.
Okay, so 63. Allah, 63. And those who oppose, disagree with, clearly not support Allah and His Messenger, I wonder who those would be, will go to hell forever. This is being repeated so many times, it's obviously meant as it is being said, right?
So, question, Bogey. Hell
Yes.
is forever, right? For all eternity.
When ye say, okay, now you can go to hell for 100,000 years and then be relieved of your duties in hell, and you can then join the rest of the horde in heaven, right? If you did something not very bad, right? Like, for example, tortured your slaves, right? But if you disbelieved, you will go to hell. And in verse 63, let me get
68.
there. 63.
66, I think you mean.
63.
Yeah, it's 63. Alam ya'lamu. Are you talking about do they not know?
So
Yes.
it's asking a question.
So do you know, do you not know that if you disagree with Muhammad and with Allah, you going to hell?
Forever. Right.
Khalidan fiha, Khalidan fiha. Khalid is like the Highlander things. They don't die. They stay alive forever. So if you go to hell, that's your place forever, right?
Right. Sahih International says forever, eternally.
Well, it is forever. Like,
Okay.
Khalidan means forever. When you see that word, it's forever.
Khalid means immortal, right?
Right.
And I think not the controversy, but the part that we will perhaps disagree on is the word jihad. Does it mean fight, or does it mean disagree?
No, it just I disagree with you. I oppose you. You vote this way, I vote the other way. You say yes, I say no. You say Allah said 60, I said no 75, right? I just keep disagreeing with you.
I got a question for you, if you don't mind, because this is the first I've heard of this Khalid immortal thing. What are we talking about?
Those who oppose Muhammad and Allah will remain in hell forever.
Okay, okay, so these are the ones, they don't die when they're in hell.
No. Those who oppose, who disagree with Allah and Muhammad.
All right, I thought you were talking about like another group of people who just wander the earth and never die.
This particular verse, for those who oppose, who disagree, do not agree with Allah and Muhammad. That particular verse for this particular.
Okay.
Yeah, to clear that up, Aaron, it's the word Khalid. It just means a person who's immortal. So it's used to mean eternity. It's used to mean forever. That's basically it.
So, all right. وَلَهُ نَارَ جَهَنَّمْ خَالِدًا فِيهَا. He's not fi nar Jahannam, right? So he is immortalized in hell.
In hell, yeah.
Right? He's immortalized in hell.
Very clear, yeah.
It's if you got it any clearer than that, then show me. But this is as clear as it gets. Okay.
Okay.
My next note is 65.
Yeah,
Go on.
I've got 65. I've got 66 afterwards.
Okay, so 65.
Allah will not be mocked.
Yes. This is the equivalent of what the Christians will say when we make a joke about Jesus having holes in his hand, right? He can look at you while his hands are in front of his eyes, because he has holes in them, and that. Oh, God will not be mocked. Okay, this is the verse in the Quran.
Well, how do you explain what we're doing?
I don't know.
My question here, is this true? Is it true if Muhammad asked these people? I mean, even that particular admittance, let's say this message is not true. Because if Muhammad were to ask the non-believer, they wouldn't say we are joking. We're pretty serious. We do not believe that story you come up with.
Yeah,
so it is not even that particular phrase not true.
We would be under 63. And if you are just making caricatures of Muhammad, then you fall under 65.
Right. Oh, well, okay. I'm just saying I disagree. If you ask me, am I playing with that? I'm saying no, I'm trying to justify. And I could not see any reason for me to believe the stories and the myths you're telling me about. So it's not really a joke. That's
Which
what
reminds me, would this be a good time to reveal the portrait that Anton made?
Yeah,
I think it is. It's just the verse.
I hope you like it.
Why is
Why is the eye different?
Why is the eye so cut out like a big scar here?
Well, because after the Battle of Uhud, he was roughed up pretty badly. He's supposed to have a scar in his face. I believe I read in the hadith that it goes as his.
It was his teeth that broken, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a tooth.
Yeah. That was his
he got his card, I believe, but not his eye. Like he didn't lose his eye for sure.
He didn't lose his eye. Well,
it's pedantry. It doesn't matter.
It's historically accurate. Now look at this.
I think it seems that Anton has faithfully represented it to his understanding.
Yes.
I'll leave it at that.
You know what? I might have made a mistake. I'm going to draw him again.
There we go.
I love for the unaware in the top left corner. It means Muhammad is the prophet of God, and this is what used to be engraved on his ring, and he used it to stamp the letters with it.
Yeah, he's sealed.
But that was only a telling. That was only there's nothing.
Yeah, by the way, there were actually drawings that were done which were using like all of the descriptions that have come down. So there was somebody, I never got to see it again because it just sort of disappeared from the internet, but somebody made a drawing where you know how those sketches they do, those people who do the sketches for like police and stuff like that, you just describe the person and then they sketch it. So somebody did one like that, but I don't know what happened to it.
Yeah, I put the seals there because I wanted to make very clear that I'm not drawing it with any guy. This is Muhammad.
Yeah. So I want to make so my point about these two verses, so 65 and 66. So of course, like what Talal said, he's saying, okay, if you ask them, they would say, of course, the them here it's talking about that specific incident. So this is during the journey to Tabuk, north. There were some people there who were mocking and making fun of Muhammad and God, etc. And so the verse says, sorry about that, family is just coming. So the verse says, "Well, in sa'altum," and if you ask them, they will say, "We were only playing and just mucking around." And so he's told to say to them, those people, then, okay, "Qul," say, is it in God and His signs and His messenger that you used to mock? And then comes the next part, which is key, because it's not considered, at least as far as I know, abrogated or anything like that. So he's told to say, do not make excuses. But kafartum ba'da imanikum, you have gone into kufr after your faith, so apostated. And then the verse continues, in na'fu, if we forgive some of you, we will punish others of you because they were criminals. So this is one of the verses which I certainly use to show that the whole apostasy, being killed for apostasy, is of course nonsense. It's never been part of Islam, and this is one of those times. It's especially useful, this verse, with regards to those people who think that apostasy laws were about treason and stuff like that, because this happened during the army, in the army in enemy territory, in Tabuk. So these people did that, and they were just told, don't make excuses, because they kept on making these excuses. We were just playing with this. No, you have gone into kufr after iman, and if some of you are punished or forgiven, the others will be punished because they were criminals. So again, indicating that it's their criminality for which they are being punished, not their leaving Islam, not their going into kufr after iman.
You cannot make a head or tail of this verse, to be honest, because it's a matter of totally up to the Prophet or up to the Muslims, either to forgive or to commit to punishment. And that contradicts the hadith says, Man baddala deenuhu faqtuluhu, as simple as that. It's either the hadith is wrong or the verse is wrong, which one of them? There's total contradiction here. It's not clear at all. It's either
exactly. It contradicts with the hadith precisely, which is why those of us who do reject the hadith from this verse and others as well. But that's exactly right. The hadith which says whoever changes his religion, then kill him. It's falsified by this verse.
No, it's not. It's not actually falsified. Okay, I don't know why you're doing this, but you're doing it. Some of these people who made fun of Muhammad and Allah and his verses, and some of the other ones that are going to be Khalidina fiha, right, have or will repent. And if they do, they are not going to hell. And that's all of it. Those who don't repent, they're gonna see the hell from inside. Okay, don't paint it with a brush that it doesn't.
No, I'm not talking about hell or not hell. I'm talking
about... No, it is hell.
No, listen, I'm talking about whether they will be killed or not killed, right? As apostasy. I'm talking about the apostasy.
It will be a kill. It will be a kill, because if you apply the law, the Islamic law on this, you do go and kill the apostates.
Yeah, I've got to read a super chat here from Robert Lawrence, $20. Thank you very much for that. Go ahead, guys.
So
we're going to get a free drink tonight, Aaron, I suppose.
So this goes back to what Talal was mentioning before, that some people might say that somebody is making fun of Muhammad, even though the person in question might say, "No, I'm serious." This is like my drawing that I just showed about Muhammad. I'm trying to be historically accurate, but some people might say that I'm making fun of Muhammad. So who's to say who's making fun and who's not? It's the Prophet. It's up to him, right? And the Muslims to decide who goes to hell or who gets punished.
Can I add one thing here? It's very clear, I think, to me. We will punish others. So the verse says, if you pardon some of you, we will punish others. Punishment is not restricted to a simple punishment like jail or lashes of you. Punishment very much could be a killing, absolute killing, cut off all limbs from behind and really let them to die, like when Muhammad punished some of those who really apostate. They said they killed the shepherd apostate. But anyway, we know from history, when he says punish, at least there is a punishment for those who disagree. So that's something we need to admit. There is a punishment. This punishment is not restricted to lashes. It could be very much death. And that even the verse would admit that. Even if we forget about the hadith, the verse would admit that straightforward.
Well, this verse at the end says, why will it be punished? It says, إن نعفو عن طائفة نعذب طائفة بأنهم كانوا مجرمين, because they were mujrimin.
Why were they? What's the crime?
Absolutely. What is the crime? We are guilty of what?
Yeah, I'm talking about if they were mujrimin, if they killed, if they did those sort of like what you mentioned about
crime. No.
Yeah, it's not okay. To make it simple, it's not the kufr after iman, because that's what you mentioned.
It is the
no. It's look. The verse is saying, okay, say to these people, do not make excuses. You, the whole group, have gone into kufr after iman. And then from this whole group, if we forgive some, we will punish the others because they were criminals.
Okay,
So
but
why these others?
aren't we all born Muslim? And if we don't, then we already apostate?
Again, it doesn't matter. The verse isn't
Well,
talking
it
about
does,
saying,
because if you are born a Muslim, like you
No, but
popped
again-
out your mother's womb as a
sorry,
Muslim.
what are we defending
If you
here?
are not a Muslim today, you have apostated at some point in time. That's the only way to be an apostate, according to you.
No, I'm just saying that in this verse, the punishment mentioned in this verse is not about the apostasy. It's about the ijram. Okay? It's
Which
clearly
is
saying
the
about
apostasy.
One of the ijram,
No,
one of the ijram
it
is to
can't
deny
be-
God.
No,
One of
in
the
this-
ijram, mufsideen al-mujrimeen, one of the ijram is to deny God. That is very much considered as the worst crime you could commit.
No,
Agreed.
look, anyway, in this verse, it's clearly...
You want
it's
to interrupt the
mujrimeen.
verse the way you see it, be it. But
No,
that is
again,
not
you are
exactly
doing
what the
that as well.
Arabic
But
says.
no, the Arabic is saying, it's very clear. It's saying, if, do not, you have done kufr after iman. Now, you people who have done kufr after iman, okay, if we forgive some of you, even though you did kufr after iman, we will punish others because they were mujrimeen. That's what the verse says.
68, because we're at it, 68. And Allah promised the hypocrite men and the hypocrite women and the unbelievers the hell of fire forever.
Yeah, again, forever, just in case you missed.
And they are cursed. And they are going to stay in torture. Don't get me going here.
Yes.
What is the word?
Is the hypocrites. It's not the...
Just the
Say the
hypocrite.
kuffar, yeah.
So the kuffar does not go there. Then why are they in the same verse?
They're not in the same verse.
They are in 68. Read 68, please.
Oh, sorry, I'm reading the wrong verse. I was reading...
Yeah, you're reading
67.
the wrong verse, because you should read the right verse.
Yeah,
We
I was
need to
reading
move
67.
on, Bagi.
Can
We
I
got
ask
the
what
point.
is the
We got the
word
point.
in this
We need
case?
to
I
move
mean, I've seen a number from the English translation. I have seen over and over again where it says everlasting punishment. Never says the word forever, but often says everlasting.
Khalidin is always forever.
Okay.
Yeah, correct.
Khalid. When you see that name, Khalid, that's forever.
Yeah, like my name means forever,
Right.
basically.
Khalid or Mukhallad, both.
Yeah.
Are we talking about it? Quranic Islam's name is the same word, or is it just two words that sound the same?
Yeah, it means the same.
It is the same word. It is the same
means
word.
forever, basically.
So Aaron,
So Quranic Islam is a Highlander. Yee-hee.
Yeah, I was going to ask when you were
I'm
talking about
surprised
these
you did
people
that.
who live forever. I was going to ask if there was any mention of how many of them there are, because I always understood it was a limited number. There can be only one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah,
because
but,
of that's just a Hollywood thing. They want to make the number small.
Yeah, so in verse
monetize
number
it.
63, the word came as singular, but in 68, it came as a plural.
Yeah. It's just because in the first verse he was talking about a singular person who does that, which, because the Quran is meant for all people at all times, that's every single one of them that will do that will go to hell forever. Okay, because the Quran is not bar the few verses that are specific, to Muhammad and his family, that are talking about specific events and describing them, right? The Quran is for all time and all places, so it's not as limited as you like to put it to be. A lot of this stuff applies today, and very much so. And and what troubles me is that I think you know it.
Well, look, I don't know it. I know what I'm telling you. I'm not trying to hide anything.
Then you're in a deep. But I think you know it because you're still not showing your face. You know it because there is no agreement
what does that
in
got to do with
this world
it?
about what you're saying about Islam.
No, I mean,
Anyway.
what I've got to say here has got nothing to do with that.
Okay, next one, please. I've got a small comment about 73, 74 and that blasphemy.
Yeah.
It's
Hold on.
my right.
In 70, who is it referring to? I mean, I have read the tafsir, but it says it was they who wronged themselves at the end of this verse. Who is it referring?
Everyone who didn't believe.
Which
So-
verse are you talking about?
70.
70.
So, in my understanding, this refers to the people of Sodom and Gomorrah.
Right. So it's the same argument that Christians use when you say, well, I'm going to hell. Well, they'll say, you put yourself in hell.
Right.
God didn't send you there.
So
Okay?
they
You
are-
put yourself in hell by not believing. God did not send you there. That's the escape phrase in Christianity, just to bring it closer to you.
Yeah.
This
So-
is the same verse and the same concept being played here in a different language.
Okay.
Sorry, Antoine, you're confused about who is the subject of verse 70?
Yes. Is it not the people of Lot?
Well, I mean, no. I mean, it says the people of. It says, "Lam ya'tihim naba'u alladhina min qablihim." Has the news not come of those before them, the people of Noah and Ad and Thamud, and the people of Ibrahim and the people of Madian, and the people of the cities which are called Mutafikat. So those are the subject. That's who this verse is talking about. Like it's. I
Is
don't see
it
why.
is it Ad and Thamud, Sodom and Gomorrah?
No,
Yes.
Ad and Thamud is not. No, Ad and Thamud, that's Qawm Lut. Qawm Lut are Sodom and Gomorrah.
This is not particularly Qomlut, but
No, Ad
whatever.
and Thamud are nothing. They're part of
What
the
is-
Arab
sorry,
and
what
Bad,
is
yeah.
the-
let's say
What's
they
the
didn't
issue
do
here?
well either.
What is the issue here? What's the
The issue here is we're trying to get this part where أَلَمْ يَأْتِهُمْ نَبَأَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِم. So haven't they heard about who came before them doing the same bad things that they did now? And brings the example of Noah's people who did not believe him, ended
It's
up
another
drowning.
threat. It's another threat, like you
It's
see.
another
all the
threat.
time.
We kill
Another
these
threat.
people in
Yeah.
this world, and we did that even beforehand. So
Yeah.
now we're going to do it to them
Yeah.
because
It's another
they put
random-
themselves in.
Bogey, let him. Talal, what were you saying?
Okay. Sorry.
I beg your pardon. What I'm trying to say, it's another random threat that the Quran use to entice and put a fear in people. But it's meaningless. Meaningless, that's the word. Meaningless. Absolutely. It has no bearing whatsoever. Yes, they've heard about them and they've realized those people were, at least they thought they were rational, and they did disagree with the Prophet before, because all the Prophet, as far as Quraysh is concerned, they came with the same story before you. You have not come up with something new. You've come with a lot of myth, with a lot of stories, do not add up together. We understand that. But Muhammad, well, who as far as I'm concerned, the author of the Quran, has come up with this to say, look, they've done them before, and take heed and make sure that you don't do the same. Otherwise, we will punish you. We will do so and so. That's as simple as that. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I just sent something to the group email from Ishak Ibrahim, who was pertaining to our last show when we were talking about, fighting the unbelievers or whatever, they fighting the idolaters, and it specified in his notes. It specified that it was talking about fighting Christians and Jews is legislated because they, the Christians and the Jews, are idolaters and disbelievers, and this is according to Tafsir Ibn Kathir.
Yeah.
Correct.
I guess that's Tafsir.
Yeah.
Which
Tafsir,
verse is that?
Well, that was one we were talking about last week, but Ishak Ibrahim sent me this long thing where he quoted.
Yeah.
It was much too long to put in a private chat, so I just sent it in a reply in the group email so that you guys can see it.
They fall into the category of idolaters.
Yeah.
Okay. My next note is 80. Can we move
All right.
on to that? Okay. So Allah will not forgive.
Before
Allah will
80,
80.
sorry,
Yes.
before 80, I just want to mention about verse 74. So it's just a
Right.
small note. It mentions in there about hammu bima lam yanalu. So it's a reference. So it's not clear. It's not like explicit over here, but it's a reference of the assassination attempt on the Prophet on the way back from Tabuk.
Yes.
So if you look into that on verse 74, so it's referencing that, which is one of the causes of the beginning of the surah, the Bara'ah. According to me again, that they know that the first verses, which are saying that the God and Messenger are innocent of the or free of the mushrikeen. One of the reasons is a breaking of treaty by trying to assassinate the Prophet, which is mentioned here.
So I have a question about what you just mentioned. Did he have 2 assassination attempts or just one?
Well, on the way back from Tabuk is one. Altogether, there were a lot more. There was like 4 or 5.
What about the Dirar, the Mesquite of Dirar? Does that count?
Yeah, the Masjid of Dirar is related again to this whole bara'ah from these people. Exactly, they were people who set up. It's one of the notes I want to get to. But people who set up a mosque, because by this time, Muhammad had a lot of success in what he did, and he did it all from a mosque. So there were other people who set up a mosque, and they tried to make it as a separate thing. And there was an idea that later on, after Muhammad died, we would make a new prophet there.
For him?
Sorry?
Was that a trap for him?
It was a trap in the way that on the way out to go in Tabuk, they wanted him to pray there. And then they wanted to assassinate him at Tabuk and then say that the last place he prayed was there in that mosque, and that is the place, the new center, basically. And the imam there is a new prophet. And that was sort of a plan underneath.
Can I say something here? Just always intriguing me. It's either we are Quraniyin, we talk about the verses of the Quran, or we talk about the Sirah, Muhammad, what he says, what happened. We do not have any reference about our Sirat ibn Hisham or ibn Ishaq, which came 200 years after the Prophet to tell us what happened. So any verse we quote here, there is no authentication of it whatsoever, unless it's telling. It's either we rely on the verse that's in our hand, or we rely on the Sirah. We combine together because we've just put a hadith which is authenticated by Bukhari, Muslim, and everybody. Whoever changed his religion, kill him. And they denied this hadith. Now you come back, somebody come back and tell me that's what happened and it's true. So which one shall we believe? So let's either stick with the verse or we stick with the Sirah. You cannot combine them together.
No, we should take whatever is. We should take whatever is convenient for us to apologize for Islam.
No, I mean,
if that's what you want to do, then we will take as well what's convenient. We try to be unbiased here.
Well, guys, just to be an impartial spectator, so to speak.
We need to be there. We need to.
Yeah, I've been in a long conversation with Khalid about his views, and I don't think it's apology, to be honest. I think it is in some form. It is an apology, but he is convinced of what he says. He has a different view on the whole thing. The hadith thing, he has certain criteria, but he uses the criteria among everything. And he also says that some of the things, like the stages of the embryo, he says that they are wrong. So he's kind of unique in that aspect, that if there's something wrong, he's gonna call it. But that's his view. So I think we need to get over.
Let's stick with a certain criteria we agree upon. Then we can give a clear views of what we're talking about.
Yeah, I agree. What I'm saying is Khalid's view is not the typical agreed upon Islamic Sunni narrative.
Right.
Yeah, because I just have my own criteria, historical criteria, and for the hadiths and these kind of things. So that's why you'll find that you'll say, okay, why are you accepting a hadith here that's in Bukhari and rejecting another one that's in Bukhari? Well, Bukhari was just a collector, right? And he made assessments of those hadiths. He included some and he rejected others. I'm not bound by what he collected or rejected. I can make my own assessments of what I think is accurate in terms of history or not. So
let's make our own assessment by using logic, reason, and reality.
Yeah,
I do not
exactly.
agree. I don't accept any hadith. If you wish, if you want to talk about hadith, we talk about hadith. But you need to accept everything called authenticated. 95% or 85% of Muslims agreed it has come from the mouth of the Prophet. If you are a Qurani, which is you believe only the Quran, we go along with that. So decide which one you cannot pick. You cannot cherry pick. If you want to cherry
No, but
pick, it's a
that
big
is not
problem.
correct. That is not accurate. That's
All right.
ninety-nine
I'm
percent
just
of
making
the.
statement. I'm not making an argument.
Yeah, I
Just
know. I'm
making
saying those
statement.
statements are not accurate.
I'm not making an argument. Okay, I'm making
Yeah.
statement. Either we
Okay.
go
Yeah.
with the hadith or with the Quran. We talk about the Quran now. Let's go with the Quran. And I
Okay,
have a
that's
point
fine.
about
I'm happy with
verse
that. That's exactly
74.
what I would
Sorry,
like.
I beg your pardon. I didn't mean
Go
to
ahead. Yeah.
interrupt you.
Okay.
Verse 74, they swear
Mm.
by Allah. Who are they? Who are they swear by Allah? If they are non-believer, they wouldn't use Allah. The verse in itself contradicts itself. Who are they? They swear by Allah that they said nothing. Who are they swear by Allah? Who's saying to? Who's
Yeah,
telling us what? I mean, if
Khalid,
they are non-believer, I wouldn't swear by Allah to start with. So that's untrue.
Khalid, is the baby in your room? Or
No, door comes out and sorry, I'll mute every time I hear that
Thank you.
noise. I hear the. I'm sorry about that. My apologies.
Yeah, I just mentioned that point, which is unfortunately, even the statement is not correct. That yahlifuna billah, they swear by Allah that they said nothing. Who are they? Non-believer, they wouldn't use the word Allah. Use a lot. Their God, their atheism, and there's idolatrous God. They wouldn't use Allah.
Yeah.
So who are they? This statement doesn't make any sense. Okay, we move on if you wish.
Yeah,
Okay,
I wanna-
80, please. 80. We've got a surah to go through.
right.
Let's go.
I just want to hear Aaron's notes on 80.
Okay. One moment. 80. Okay. It makes no difference, prophet, whether you ask forgiveness for them or not. God will not forgive them even if you ask 70 times, because they reject God and his messenger. God does not guide those who rebel against him. And then my note was, remember that only 14 verses ago, the Quran said that God may forgive some of the blasphemers, but would punish others. Now it says otherwise, that there is no chance for them. The Quran is not consistent. Notice also how it says your prayers will not be answered.
Right. So Allah will not forgive the unbelievers, even if Muhammad prayed 70 times for them. Yes, I see the contradiction. And frankly, since Allah is not real, Muhammad can do whatever he wants. It's a waste of his time because Allah is not going to forgive anyone because he doesn't do anything.
You know, Boogie, if the strange thing is, if you go to the tafsir, the prophet, he like asked God to forgive this person 70 times, then 70 times, then 70 times. So if God told you don't do this, why are you doing it 3 times?
What is the point of 70 times here? I find this is, sorry to say the word, absolutely ridiculous. Why not 50? Why not 100? Why not 10?
I don't know. Was it one of the numbers that came up in the negotiation of the number of prayers when Muhammad was up in heaven negotiating the
Yeah,
prayers?
but it's God
What it
talking here.
implies-
It's not you or me. It's God talking here.
What it implies is that if you pray 71 times,
he might. You say he might just.
Anyway.
All right. So I have a clarification
just a thought.
from Montada Islamic Foundation that the number 70 is only like means many times, and you should not understand it literally. That's what they say.
In Tafsir ibn Kathir, it says that Arabs used to use the word 70 as exaggeration form.
So who knows?
Does that resemble the 70 huri that Muslims going to get in heaven?
No, that's 72. So that's
sorry.
That's even more exaggerated. Okay.
Never mind.
Okay, so that sounds similar to when I use the number 11 jillion.
Yeah, or you need to say 1,000,000 times, but they didn't know what 1,000,000, I think,
Yeah.
back then.
Yeah, but the point I'm trying to make, there's no rhetoric at all, because God, who is the miraculous, who has given the Muslims such a book, so divine, so accurate, so perfect, does not resort to such silly numbers for forgiveness. He should have said, no matter how long they ask for forgiveness, they will not be forgiven. End of the story. So that's the point I'm trying to make here. It doesn't make any sense. All right.
Whatever. Let's just keep reading.
Let's
Okay,
keep going.
83 is my next note.
83?
Go ahead.
83.
Yeah.
Pretty severe. So for those who ask permission to stay back from jihad the first time, they shall not be allowed to go with Muhammad. Is that Allah or Muhammad talking here? Ever. Interesting, but let's read on. So basically, if you excuse yourself the first time around, when a lot of people apparently accuse themselves from going to fight in the name of Allah with Muhammad, those people are kind of in a trouble situation, because Allah is actually calling them apostates at this point and is not going to forgive them. But let's read on, because later on this is basically Muhammad making his shit up. So he basically cursed everybody who didn't go with him. He sent them to hell, and then he realized that if he sends everybody to hell, then nobody's gonna change their mind and go with him anyways. So he opens the door later on for, if unless they repent and they spend their money in the name of Allah, and then he mildens the stance a lot by the end of this block of verses, to a point where, yeah, you did ask for permission not to go, but you can ask for another permission to go and we'll be fine. Right?
Yeah, I also had a note on this. So 83 is saying, when you come back, if God brings you back to some of them and they ask to be able to go out with you again for another battle, then say, you can't come out with me and you're not going to fight with me and the enemy. And because
Yes.
you were happy to stay behind the first time, so now stay behind of those who stay behind. My note about this is, again, of course, I'm going against the vein of what you guys are saying, but it's showing again that the Prophet was not forcing people to go out and fight with him. There was no force. People who made excuses, they stayed behind. And those who made excuses, they made excuses because they were lukewarm. They weren't people of real faith. And so the Prophet is told when he comes back to such people, okay, next time when we go out, I don't want you to come with me, all right? So you're not going to come with me next time to fight anybody or anybody like that.
Okay, that's why it is so mild and nice. That's why we have 84.
Exactly.
La tusalli, do not pray upon when they die. So do not pray on their body.
Yeah.
When they die, ever. Do not pray ever on their body, ever. If they did not go out with you that day, if they ask for an excuse, this verse is actually more important than anybody would want to put it. This verse is when you extricate somebody from the circle of Muslims, and then you treat him like this. وَلَا تَقُمْ عَلَى قَبْرِهِ. Do not stand on his grave praying, and I can explain this a little bit. Because innahum, so those dead people who excused themselves from the fight the first time around, innahum kafaru billahi wa rasuluhu. They disbelieved in Allah and His Prophet. Okay, they kafaru completely. وَمَاتُوا وَهُمْ فَاسِقُونَ. So, and they died in their sin, so they did not repent. Okay, just to clarify to you, they did not repent. Okay,
I agree with that. So
that's the small door. That's the small door. What I want to elucidate here is, do not pray for them upon their death. Do not stand next to their grave. There's a prayer in Islam that is
Yes.
performed around the dead people. So when you
Yes.
die, they take you to your grave place and they put you in front of your grave, your dead body, and then they stand in a line like they stand in the mosque and they start praying. But this prayer is special. There is no movement in it. They just stand and you perform the movements of the prayer without physically performing the movements. You
You
just
don't
stand there.
kneel. You don't kneel, and you don't. What's the word?
Don't bow, prostrate. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't prostrate, you don't do all the movements, you just stand still and do the prayer for the dead. You're praying on the dead, okay, at that point. So if you don't do this, that means that that person is not a Muslim.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
one note
when
about,
what the one note I want to get through here without interruption is when a terrorist does a terrorist act and the Muslim community says, well, this is not in Islam. He has clearly left Islam. Observe carefully. Are they burying him in the Muslim burial ground? Are they praying on him? Because if he does, they still consider him a Muslim. If they don't, then they've been truthful and they won't do these things. That's all you have to do. Okay.
all right. So look, this
To
of
the
course
point,
it's
because they have committed kufr, right? Not joining the fight is kufr already. Okay. So unless they repent from that, they're gonna hell, and they're not Muslims, and they shouldn't be treated as Muslims. And if they die that way, they died non-Muslim.
yeah. So what I mean, now if I note about this verse as well. So it's saying, of course, la tusalli, not la tusallu. Just you or Muhammad don't pray over any of them who died, right? So the Muslims did typically pray. This is all about the hypocrites, of course. The Muslims did pray over the hypocrites. Umar ibn Khattab, for example, he used to wait. If Hudayfa would pray over somebody, he would pray. If he didn't, he would know that person was a hypocrite because Hudayfa knew the names of some of the hypocrites. But the point I want to make about this verse in particular is it says, وَمَاتُوا, okay? لَأَحَدٍ مِّنْهُمْ مَات, not قُتِل, not killed, okay? So these are people who, if you say that they have become
No,
kuffar,
just a second. Matt could be as a result of Qutil, okay?
okay, but
The
look,
point
just to,
is, today, that person who wanted an excuse from fighting and did not repent, that person is dead by any means, okay? Not specified. Do not try to read things that are not in the Quran into the Quran. It's not
yeah, so
specified.
the
He's
point is, yeah,
dead. The
exactly.
only thing that it says is dead. If they
Yeah,
dead,
that's exactly what I'm saying.
does
It's
not
not
say what
specified.
means they're. It's not specified. They are dead
Yeah,
now.
that's what I'm saying.
Are you
Now,
supposed to
if
bury them like
Bogey,
Muslims?
Bogey, don't talk over him.
I mean,
Okay.
you're right, exactly. It's not specified. And what I'm saying is that if there was an apostasy law, it would be specified that they would be killed. Okay, so some of these are died of natural causes, or you could say killed. Okay, I admit
Okay,
that. It says
5
died,
words
okay?
after
But the
Matt.
point,
5 words. There is the explanation for you. Innahum kafaru. They have
yeah, that's what I'm
apostated.
saying, exactly. I'm saying
Right.
that
So
they
this is an
died in
apostasy
kufr.
law. This is an
Well,
apostasy law.
look, okay, look, they're saying that these people have apostated, right? And then it says they died, not killed for apostasy. Died, as you said yourself, unspecified, including naturally.
Right, because
Okay?
the Quran
Now,
does not need to repeat
no,
itself. It
if,
already said, kill them wherever you find them.
You
no,
said the
if,
Quran doesn't need to repeat itself. It repeats itself constantly.
It does, but it doesn't need to,
but
right?
if,
The point is, these people died. They weren't killed by Muslims, although they could have been killed by Muslims.
okay, yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
Right.
So this is another of the verses, another of the many verses in the Quran, which shows that there is no apostasy law. Because if they were supposed to
That
be
is
killed,
bullshit. Okay, that is
if
bullshit.
well, anyway, if they were supposed to be killed, okay, the verse would not say, they died, and then you just don't pray over
Yeah,
them.
my translation it says, "Do not hold prayers for any of them if they die."
Yeah.
Right,
So it's,
and maybe it does say that you won't go out and fight with me. Those who choose to stay at home, so remain with. So if they go out and fight with you and they die, well, then they were killed. But I don't know. It doesn't specify how they died. Only that if they died, you're not supposed to pray over them.
Yeah, and I don't know why. I mean, Bogi, you're making a big issue of these are kuffar, right? Why do you want the Muslims to pray over them? Why would they want to anyway? Why would they want the Prophet to pray over them?
Because in
So
the
it's
sen-
not.
in the essence of the matter, okay, these people just said we don't want to go to fight in this battle because of reasons. Okay, the accusation by the Quran is they are weak in belief and they don't think Muhammad is real. Okay, that's the accusation.
Yeah. So why should Muhammad pray over them? Why would they want that?
Outwardly, these people show up in the mosque 5 times a day.
Yeah, sorry. The question is, let's go for the sake of the argument.
So they are not outward apostates, right?
Let's assume
But
they
the
are
Quran
dead.
accusing them of being apostates.
Wait. Here's why. They might be family members of somebody. Why would somebody pray if they're
So let me intercede here and say something. Let me tell you what the tafsir says. So the tafsir says that this is not specifically about this person, who's I'm gonna say his story, but in a general terms, that if you know that someone is a hypocrite, don't pray on him when he dies, right? And it talks about someone, Abdullah bin Ibn Salul, who was the head of the hypocrites. And when he died, his son came to the Prophet, asked the Prophet to have his shirt. And then he used it as a coffin for the person, and then asked the Prophet to pray for him. And the Prophet prayed for him. And someone said, how do you, oh Prophet, how do you pray on him? And the Prophet and God said, don't, God said, if you pray for them 70 times, if you ask God for forgiveness for them 70 times, they will not be forgiven. So then God divined or commanded this new verse, which is don't pray on any one of them, which we are reading now. So this is the context in the tafsir. Ibn Kathir just wanted to say. And I think, guys, we need to move on. I advise before that everyone says his piece and we don't argue a lot about it, because as Boogie said, we have a surah to finish. And like we're not going to change anyone's heart or opinion. So if Khalid wants to say something, let him say it. We want to make the show balanced as well, right? And we leave the audience decide.
Let's continue.
Yeah. Can I come in here, please? Let's assume, for the sake of the argument, it's for the non-believer who died. They were not killed in a fight. Yeah, fair enough. Let's assume that. What is the benefit of Allah, of God, to say you should never pray? You are never to pray over any of them who dies. What's the benefit? What's the wisdom for God to say that? That's one question. Second question, and not to stand on his grave. But the hadith, very clearly, I can give you the number later. I asked, Muhammad says, because his mother died while she's not a believer. And he said, I asked God, Allah, for his forgiveness to my mother. He denies me for his mercy, but he did not mind me to go and visit her grave. So this is another contradiction, very clear here. She is non-believer. She was non-believer. So what's happening here? I mean, God should have made an exception here in this verse, apart from your mother, for instance. Okay, just a point I want to mention.
Fair enough. Yeah, let's move on. Next, who has the next note?
Next note is 90.
Okay.
90. It does. Let me cue there.
Yeah, why do you move there? I noticed in these verses, it talks about two things. It takes about people who making excuses for jihad and people who are making excuses not to give money.
Well, jihad can be performed by money. So
True. True.
So it is saying, well, now that he closed the door and considered them kuffar, right? Now he wants to dance it back. So this is where we're getting there. It
Okay.
does the same to those who have disbelieved of them. The point seems very moot, since in 984, Allah has already declared all of them kafirs. So basically all of them, because all of them is all of them, right?
Okay.
So when it says وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا مِنْهُمْ عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ, well, they are being talked here because they kafar. And we're going to solve this mystery a little bit later on. 91, 92, 93 explains 90 a little bit. Let's read it. Don't read the next two verses, though, if you want to apologize for it. Okay, so 91, 92, 93. There is an official excuse being made for the weak and the sick and those who cannot, who do not have any money, like they are too poor to go to fight. They can't spend on armament. They can't leave their family and go to fight because their family would die of hunger. So those are off the bat excused from this. If they ask for exception, they should be granted, and they should not be declared kafir for that, right?
Yep.
So now he's trying to dance it back, starting 91, right? 92. ولا على الذين ما أتوك لتحملهم قلت لا أحد منهم.
لا أجد ما أحملكم عليه.
Yeah.
So this is actually, I wanted to ask Khalid about it. Does this لا أجد ما أحملكم عليه, does it mean like these people went to the Prophet and they wanted to go to a jihad and he couldn't find anything to finance them with?
Yeah, basically looking for a mount. So this was Sa'at al-Usra, which is mentioned in the Quran, which is again the expedition to Tabuk. This whole surah is centered around that time period where there was expedition north to Tabuk to fight the northern Christian Arab tribes. And so it was a long journey. It was in the middle of the summer. It was a time of a drought, etc. And so he encouraged people to spend on the army. Anybody who had extra to spend on the army to provide mounts, camels, horses for people to be able to reach there, because you're not going to walk halfway across Arabia, right? And long, so you need a mount. So there were some who came, poor people who came saying, Messenger of Allah, we don't have a mount. Can you provide us with a mount from some of the charity that has been given? And he said, I can't find anything to carry with. So it's basically that.
Okay.
Yeah, but so, what is the point here? I mean, does the Prophet would have done that? He knows. He does not. لا ينطق عن الهوى. He does not say anything insane or useless. So what's the point of mentioning this here? That is okay if you.
Well, he's dancing it back, like he's dancing the beginning of this section back a little bit. So those who have the conditions in 91, right, are not kuffar for asking for not to go, right? So in 92, there are those who Muhammad couldn't supply with armaments, and
they are excused.
They are excused too, because they came to fight even though they were abjectly poor, and you couldn't give them a gun. So what are you going to do? Just tell them go home and stay there because I don't have weapons for you.
So is this making reference to the way to Tabuk?
Yeah.
Or is this something different?
I don't think it's limited to Tabuk. I mean, this is a pretty generic situation, right?
Correct.
This is a very generic situation. There is a fight to be had against the kuffar, and there are people who are trying to get away from it. They are dodging the draft. So you call them kafirs because, God damn, you're not going to be dodged in the draft, right? But then you say, oh, well, there are some people who are really weak. They can't really fight, even if I give them a weapon. And then there are people who are too poor. Their family would actually die from hunger. because they if they go, they don't have anything saved up, right? And so forth and so forth. And then let's go to 7 to 93.
Okay.
Let's go to 93 because that's the last one in this block. So, but the blame is befallen on those who ask for a permission not to go while they are rich. They wanted to stay behind, and Allah stamped on their heart so they would never know. Okay, so those are the ones who are kafaru from them. So when it says, well, those who kafaru from them, initially it declared everyone kafir. But now it says those people who had the money and the capability to go, but still decided to stay behind with permission, those are the ones who are truly kafaru, and Allah has stamped their hearts down. He sealed it. They're not going to get away from it. So,
And they do not understand. They do not realize all that's been done to them.
yes. It's kind of like it happened in the background. They don't know it, but the Society of Islam has declared them kafirs, even if they don't know it. And when they die that way, they won't be preyed upon when they're buried, right?
I just want to mention that isn't really the
Doesn't make
last.
sense.
That isn't the end of this passage because it continues, right?
It
The next
does.
verse. Yeah, no, the next verse continues, referring to the same people. The next
Right.
verse
But
still continues on.
I tried to point out that he makes an out for those, how he makes the out for them, and still keeps a certain portion of those who seek excuse from going to jihad and declares them kafirs, right? 94, 95, and 96. The no longer considered Muslims who asked permission to not go to jihad fight are the ones doing the swearing and want to join now because basically they got threatened by eternal hellfire and more, right? So now those people who asked for permission not to go in the first place, and they realize, oops, shit went down, right? And now Allah is angry with us. They want to go and go fight with Muhammad now because they don't want to go to hell. That's bad, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about, I think, 95 and 96, right? So it says they swear to God when you come back to them. So after Tabuk, when you come back, they will swear to God, making oaths and stuff, so that you will turn away from them. So turn
Yes.
away from them. That's what they want. Okay.
Yes.
إنهم
So
رجس.
they are not
Yeah.
to be forgiven. They are not to be forgiven. They
It just says
are.
turn away from them.
They
And then the
are
next.
nasty. They are nasty. They are ritsun. Anhum
they are
innahum ritsun wa ma'wahum. Their dwelling place in the afterlife is Jahannam. Jaza'um bima kafaru yaksubun. Okay, so he definitely calls them kafirs in this point, and he says they are. Don't even pray on them if they die. Don't even do that.
Yeah, so and the next verse after that, 96, similar. So it says, يَحْلِفُونَ لَكُمْ لِتَرْضَوْا عَنْهُم. They swear to you so you can be pleased with them. And the interesting thing about this verse, it says, فَإِن تَرْضَوْا عَنْهُم. If you are pleased with them, then know that God will not be pleased on the
Right.
deviant, wicked people. And the reason why this is mentioned is because some of the Muslims were, in the end, taken in by their promises and the oaths and whatever they said. So they were saying things in order to be to be happy with them. And God is saying, even if you are happy, even if you are Muslims, become happy with these people, God is not going to become happy with a wicked people.
So what's the point here?
The point is, even if the people
let me hear Khalid or somebody tell me
okay.
what's the wise thing. Of course, God knows it all, and He knows whether they're true or not. So if somebody swear to me, I should believe him or I should not believe him. It is what we call a done deal. What is the point?
Yeah, so it's saying here that, like I said, so there were people who stayed behind for, they were rich, they stayed behind, they didn't want to be involved in the battle, etc. The people we're talking about, right? So once the Muslims have come back, those people would be making excuses, right? Saying, oh, we we
Sorry,
have
I
this
understand
excuse.
what they said, but I'm asking what is the point of it all?
Well, the
What's
point
the
is not
wisdom
to, is
behind it?
the point
Why is
is that
this
you
instruction?
shouldn't. Yeah, the point is that you shouldn't be happy with the wicked people.
Well, that is a done deal. Sometimes we are not happy with anybody. Sometimes we're happy with all. What's the
No,
point?
but
Anyway,
some people are happy with wicked people. All right, some people will be happy with them, and God is saying here, even if you are happy with these wicked people, I am not happy with these wicked people.
yeah, God telling us you may do something I know better than you are. So even if you're happy, I'm not happy. That should be a done deal. It's not. It doesn't
No,
need a verse for that.
it's
Anyway,
talking about another people, other people. So
who's
not
other
you.
people? He talking about kuffar here.
Yeah, the other. So these other people, okay.
Yeah.
Don't be you are being happy with them. You're being chummy with them. You're being nice to
Don't be
them
happy
because
with them. Okay, we've got
yeah,
the
because
message.
you're being yeah exactly because yeah they promised you and they said
Yeah,
this and they
but
said
that
that. So
particular
now
message, I'll finish here. That particular message doesn't do me any good because there's still some people are happy, irrespective if God tell them or not. We still do the same thing. We all of us.
I mean,
So
okay,
what happened?
if you want to bring it down into like a personal level, you for yourself, for example, right? In your life, there are people who you would consider to be very wicked, evil people, and the people who are not, right? You should not be happy or pleased with or tarda with these people who are wicked. You shouldn't show them
Where is
like
my
that. You
own
should
judgment? Where is my
because
own mind? Where's my own
no,
reason?
I'm
Is that
according
put
to
it
your
on
own reason.
aside?
No, look, Talal, according to your own reason, if I'm just bringing this down to what you're saying, according to your own reason, your own mind, you have decided a certain group of people are wicked and evil. Okay, you should not be chummy with them, happy with you should not be encouraging them in that way. Okay, that's what the point of this
Yeah,
is.
okay. Anyway, I'll stop here because we move to encouragement. Simply a statement, God the Almighty telling people, even if you're happy with something, I'm not, I know better. Okay, we know that.
No, no, even if you're happy with
All right.
deviant,
You want to
wicked
interpret
people.
it the other way, have it your own way. I'm not going to argue. We can move on if you don't mind.
No,
Okay.
but I mean, it says, sorry about the sound, I don't know what's going on. It says, you will not, even if you are happy with them, God is not happy with wicked people. It's not about interpretation. It says in the verse, God will not be happy with a wicked people.
He didn't say wicked. He said wicked in English, but in Arabic is not wicked. People who are corrupted. There's different. A different.
Okay, yeah, I
Corrupted
can
mean
accept
are
that.
non-believers.
Fasiqeen.
I know it's not the same. If you want to ask me about Arabic, I know about Arabic. Fasiqeen is not the same as wicked. Fasiq is could be either corrupted or a one who does not follow religion 100%. Not wicked.
Okay,
Wicked could
that's
be
fine.
anything.
Yeah, I mean, complete concordance between the Arabic and the English. I don't mind that, yes. So the point is, it
No,
says
no, no. We do
al-fasiqeen.
mind because the Quran is in Arabic. English
Yeah,
could
but
be just a guideline,
I'm not
but it's
arguing
not
with
the
you, Talal.
absolute truth.
I'm not
Sorry.
arguing with you. I'm just saying that God is saying He will not be happy with al-qawm al-fasiqeen
Sure,
in
sure.
Arabic. Then, yeah, that's all.
Agreed, agreed. No big deal.
Yeah.
At least the
Even
difference is
even
clear.
if the society of Islam in general mildened its heart and accepted them, like, oh, okay, fine, you can come, we play together. Allah is still holding the mask of kafirs, and He's going to send them to hell forever when they die. Although outwardly, looking at the society of Islam, these people look like Muslims for every other Muslims in town.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So to put it into that kind of thing, like what you were saying before about people praying over, for example, terrorists and ISIS and stuff like that. So even if you pray over them, even if you're happy with them, even if you are these evil, wicked people who you would consider Muslim, and you say, no, we have to pray for them, they are our brothers, they say La ilaha illallah, they say all this stuff to please us, okay? No, you should not be pleased with a wicked people. People who are
Exactly.
fasiqing like that, do not be
Exactly.
pleased with them.
My point.
Whether
when
they're Muslim or not Muslim.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
My point when I made it was, if the Islamic community as is declares somebody's actions very un-Islamic and wrong, and they say he's not a Muslim, and yet they turn around knowingly that he has committed that extricating sin from Islam, and bury him in Muslim cemetery and pray over him, that means what they told you outwardly was not true. What they believe is he's still a good Muslim. Okay? This is what I was trying to get to here. Is that it's the other side of the same coin. This side that's in the Quran here says, even if you accept them back, I will not accept them. Okay, Allah, I will not accept them because I know they were munafiqs, and we don't accept those, right? But this is the other side. Allah knows they're good people because they committed an act of jihad, and the Muslim community inwardly knows that they are good Muslims and they committed the act of jihad in the name of Allah. But outwardly they say, oh no, he's left Islam with that act. We do not want any part of him. And yet they go and bury him in the Muslim cemetery, and yet they go and pray next to his grave. So anyways, 97 and 98.
97 is a very serious statement.
Just hold the horses for a second. They are abrogated by 999, so we might as well just go there.
Let's go there.
Let's talk about 97 first. Or do you want to go 99?
It's abrogated.
Well, let's talk about
I
it
understand,
first.
but let's find the reason of abrogation as well, please.
Okay, let's do that.
Well, read
So
it.
97. The desert Arabs are the most stubborn of all peoples in their disbelief and hypocrisy. They are at the least likely to recognize the limits that God has sent down to his messenger. God is all-knowing and all-wise.
I have a problem with this, Aaron. I have a big problem with this.
Laws, not limits.
Well, my problem is that if God knows that the Arabs are the worst to believe, he should not have given them neither Muhammad nor the message, the Quran. So apparently he changed his mind afterwards. So that's my issue here.
That's kind of racist.
Well, I'm not saying racist. If he's telling us they are really the worst not to believe, well, he shouldn't bother sending them. He should have sent the Quran in Hebrew or in Aramaic or any other language, not to the Arab. He shouldn't have sent to the Furs or somebody else,
Right.
Well, look, that's only true if you accept what Bogey says and says everything else is abrogated. The next two verses are abrogated. No, it's
why
saying
it's abrogated? As God didn't know to start with.
There is no abrogation in the Quran.
I started off that these two verses are abrogated. Let's look at the abrogator.
All right,
You wanted to look at what is being abrogated just for the sake of seeing what the heck is being abrogated.
Go ahead.
And then we're going to 99. We sit here accepting abrogation. I know it might be painful for you, but we do.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the point is, I'm just doing one other thing, that Al-Arab are, of course, the Bedouin Arabs. So it's not talking about the Arabs. The Arab are the Bedouin Arabs, so not the city-dwelling Arabs, right? So
that's all the people around Mecca. If you're going to spread Islam, you can't declare them bad already.
No,
They're
so there's
going to say,
Mecca.
okay, fine, then we fight.
There's Mecca, there's Taif, there's Medina, there's Khaybar, there's the northern Busra. There's a number of settlements all around Arabia. The desert Arabs is talking about the tent dwellers. So those who didn't build any homes.
Okay.
He's referring to the same Arabs
settled.
in both versions. Sure.
Yeah, so it's just talking about those Arabs, the Bedouin Arabs.
Yeah.
It's not talking about the city dwellers.
No, understand. But the same is referring, both version is referring to the same Arabs. The one who said they are really the worst of the worst. Then he said, but some of them are okay. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, that's right.
So 99 abrogates the previous two and says, and of those Arabs, there are those who will believe he will believe of Allah and the last day, and starts to spend for the name of Allah and do the prayers. It is good for them. It is accepted from them, and Allah will enter them into His mercy, and Allah is merciful.
So what do you think about that abrogation then? It's basically saying, if you're saying that the other verse, which is saying that all of them are bad, if that's abrogated, then now it's saying all of them are good, right?
Well, it doesn't say
So-
that. It says
Well-
of them.
Some of them.
Some
Yeah,
of
but
them.
you said the
Some
previous
of
one
them
is
will come
abrogated.
to believe. Well, yes, because the first two says all of them.
So the previous doesn't matter.
Well, they are abrogated. We just looked at them as a matter of cursory knowledge. And then we look at the abrogator, which says, well, some of them are going to be believers. Because if you are going to set up shop and sell Islam in the Arabian desert, and you pre-call everybody a damn apostate and they should not be accepted, then they're not going to buy your stuff. They're going to say, okay, fine, then you stay in your religion, and we, the desert people, will just not follow you. How about that? So he realizes that that's a blunder, and then he tries to correct. Muhammad is making this shit up as he goes. In
Sorry,
99,
when we talk about abrogation, always I am interested in a couple of things. It's either we justify it or we understand it. Okay, we literally understand the reason, and we find there is wisdom behind it. So what's the point here? He's
The
telling
point
us
here
at one
is-
point. Sorry, I'm just saying when I'm
Yeah, sorry.
mentioning something here, just saying all the Arabs, because Al-Arab, first verse, very clear, all of them are really the worst of the worst to become a believer, and the rest of it. Then he said, but the abrogation, if he says it's abrogated, but some of them so and so. So really the verse, the last verse contradicts the first one totally. So either we justify it or we say, well, there's something wrong here. So which one shall we do? If you want to justify it, you can interpret it the way it suits. If you look at it in the sense of what it means, there's a hell of a contradiction here. That's what I'm trying to say.
You know, I think the way why this was said to be abrogated is, of course, because the majority of the Arabs were desert Arabs, and later on they didn't like to be called that, and so they said this is abrogated. So this what came up later in tafsirs and stuff like that. But as I've said many times, there's no such thing as abrogation. There's not a single hadith of the Prophet saying this verse or that verse is abrogated.
If that were true, Muslims are okay to drink alcohol today, are they?
We've been through that.
Right, but are they?
No,
Then there is abrogation.
no, there isn't.
No, that's it. They will refer, Muslim will tell you that's the stages. The mercy of God has acknowledged certain people cannot give it up straight away. So he was so merciful, so understanding to give it to you in stages, which is not obligation. It's a matter of understanding your instinct, or sorry, your desire to drink, but he does not need to surprise you with it. So he gave you some time to think and make sure eventually it's bad for you. That's what Muslims tell you, okay? If you don't understand that, you do not understand Islam and the Quran as well.
Or I don't understand Muslims, maybe.
Okay, let's move on.
100 is my next note.
Let's go.
Ow!
What happened?
Now my dog demands
No,
that I pet him.
Nice.
Ow!
I just want to say that the doctrine of abrogation is mentioned in Surah 2, verse 106.
Yes.
What does it say?
Yeah, no, it's not.
It
It's not about
says there is
abrogation at all.
abrogation, dude.
No,
Okay,
but look, we've
103
been
is
through
my-
that. Let's just move on.
Let's move on. Abrogation is, and you're wrong for saying it's not. 103, please read your notes.
All right, give me
It's
just.
indeed very
if the
similar.
dog will let me, will you let go?
That's okay. Give him a pet in the head. Tell him he's a nice dog.
Yeah, just
Read it himself.
chill. Which verse?
103.
103. Okay. In order to cleanse and purify them, prophet, accept gift of their property to make amends and pray for them. Your prayer will be a comfort to them. God is all hearing, all knowing. Then my note on that was, if that were so, then you wouldn't need to pray. God already knows what you want and why. And this book it just said a few verses ago that it doesn't matter because he's not going to listen to your prayers anyway. Not if you pray for the unbelievers.
So let me make a comment here. This is something that is, again, left out of the book of the Quran, and I had to look it up. And again, correct me if I'm wrong. But this verse and the previous one is making a reference to a group of 9 guys who did jihad alongside with Muhammad in past battles. But now they prefer not to fight anymore. The tafsir says that they were late. But once this surah was revealed, the 103, they were very repentful, and well, they tied themselves to pillars of the mosques because they were very fanatic, very religious fanatic, and they remained there. They were trying to show how they were so repentful for this. They were really saying sorry until Muhammad cut them down. And the verse 103 says, okay, they get pardoned by Muhammad, but Muhammad takes something from them, which is sort of abusive. But I don't know what you guys think.
I think you're talking about the story. Is it the story of Abu Lubaba? So that was what happened during the siege of Bani Qurayza. So one of the the Jewish tribes that were in Medina. If that's what you read in the tafsir, then I don't want to say because it's just completely out of sync with what these verses are talking about. This verse, it starts, that section we're talking about here, starts with just a few verses before 101. It says, "And those who are around you of the Bedouin Arabs are hypocrites." So it's talking about them, okay? And from Ahl al-Medina and from the people of Medina are those who have like they've gone deep into hypocrisy. And then it says some of them have mixed good deeds with bad deeds, and maybe God will repent to them. And then it says, take from their wealth, accept from their wealth charity with which to purify them.
So I agree with you with what you said at the beginning, that it refers to the other Bedouins. But then in verse 102, it says some others have confessed the wrongdoing. So it changed.
Yeah.
No longer refers to all of them. It refers to some specific ones.
Yeah, some of them from the Bedouin Arabs. The story that you're talking about, I know it from the Hadith. This is a story which happened very early, sort of like the 5th year, 4th year. It's related to the siege of the Jewish tribe in Medina. So I don't know why what you read is related to this. This is, of course, still in the 9th year of Hijrah. One of the last surahs to be revealed. That story was way before. Way before. And that person as well, he wasn't of a Bedouin. He wasn't one of the Bedouins. He was actually one of the people of Medina. And he wasn't considered a hypocrite either, so I don't know.
That was
I'm just saying it's very in sync what you the story that you wrote, which you're saying related to this. It's very not in sync.
It is for reference. It is in Tafsir ibn Kathir. Yes, and it talks about Abu Lubaba.
Yeah, Abu Lubaba, yeah.
Okay, 105, please.
105. Say, prophet, take action. God will see your actions, as will his messenger and the believers. Wait, as will his messenger. So God is talking to Muhammad. Oh, never mind. Take action. God will see your actions, as will his messenger and the believers, and then you will be returned to him who knows what is seen and unseen. He will tell you what you've been doing.
Now, my note on this is that this is a very, very quoted verse. وَقُلْ أَعْمَلُوا فَسَيَرَ اللَّهُ عَمَلَكُمْ وَرَسُولُهُ وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ. This is a very quoted verse. You need to do good works, even if in secret, because Allah is going to see it. And that's why it is being quoted so widely when they say, well, do the good things and not tell people about it. Because Allah is going to see it and he's going to be the judge, not Muhammad and his followers. Okay?
Yeah, I mean, what I'd say about this is, of course, it's saying, say to again, these Bedouin Arabs, what's in the previous passage, say to them, those who have basically mixed good and bad deeds, right? Do deeds, and God will see your actions. So will the messenger, so will the believers. So they might believe one thing about you, They might believe one thing about you, but in the end, you will go back to God, who knows both the things which you've shown to God, to the believers and to the messenger, and the things which you've concealed. So
Yes.
you go back
So
to the one who knows the inner and outer.
God will know your thought crimes as well.
Yeah. Well,
So is this
talking about actions anyway, not the.
No,
not the thing.
he will know what's in your chest.
Yeah, but
He will
this verse
know
saying
your
فَإِنَّبِّئُكُم بِمَا كُنتُم تَعْمَلُونَ. He will tell you about what you used to do.
وَسَرُدُونَ إِلَيَّ عَالِمُ
Yeah.
الْغَيْبِ وَالشَّهَادَةِ.
So
he will
فَإِنَّبِّئُكُم بِمَا
Allah
كُنتُم تَعْمَلُون. He will tell you
Exactly.
what you used to do. Yes.
That's in the accounting phase of the end days, when he tells you, okay, you thought that
No, not thought.
Muhammad
Where are you
is
getting
not a
thought from?
true, because you thought in your heart that Muhammad is not a true prophet, but you went along with him anyways to save your ass.
What's in your chest is not your actions.
I don't know.
But Allah knows
says,
Allah knows what's in your chest.
It's not talking about what's in the chest or not here. This verse is
This
saying,
is
No, not here, but
not here,
in
but
other places,
otherwise.
but we're talking about
Look,
this verse. And
we
this
have,
verse says,
we
it will
have,
tell you about what you used to do.
okay. We have read the Quran. We understand it not just by the words it says. We are at the stage where we pretty much gotten to the end of it.
It's very esoteric.
Right, but there is a meaning to it when it is saying. Anyways, 1:7 to 1:10, please. Let's check the background story here. Muhammad has no tolerance to any competition. He orders the other mosque burned down, by the way.
yeah, that's the mosque of Dirar that we
Yes.
brought up before.
Yeah.
And this was apparently they were going to attempt to kill him there, but he ordered it burned down, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so and yeah, the people who had it, but so what it was, so it says, if we just look at the verse, so it says, and those who made a mosque as a source of harm and kufr, and splitting the believers, and as a place and outpost for those who had waged war against God and His Messenger from before. Who are they? Of course, Quraysh. Quraysh are the ones who man harab Allah wa rasuluhu min qabl. Okay, so these were basically hypocrites within Medina who were, conspiring with Quraysh beforehand, and they set up this mosque. And the plan, like I said, it was to have him assassinated at Tabuk, and on the way back, they wanted to have that as the center from which to, because it's that these people were not people of faith or anything like that. They didn't believe in God or His Messenger or anything like that. So they just saw what Muhammad did was very successful. So they said, okay, let's assassinate him, and we do the same. We'll make a mosque, and we'll have our own prophet, okay, and we'll do that. So this is one of the links between Quraysh, mentioned in the beginning of the surah, those who broke their treaty, and what they did. One of the things they did was this. Okay, so that mosque was an outpost, and I made a short sort of like video essay, 10 minutes on my channel. It's called the two mosques, a tale of two mosques and two prophets. So I talk about how you have the two type of mosques which have been inherited into the Islamic world. There's the mosque of harm, okay, which is unfortunately the majority, and then you can talk about the mosque of taqwa. So two streams of sort of like outlook. Okay. Now the people who set up this mosque are of course Quraysh, and they ruled the Muslim empire in the end. They ruled the world, and so that's why you have predominantly Islam has come to us from this mosque of harm.
So he's getting rid of the competition.
Never heard of that before. First time I have no reference for that, all that. Never heard of it before.
Yeah.
You've heard of Masjid al-Dirar?
Yeah.
Apparently, Muhammad ordered the mosque to be burned down.
Yeah, I mean,
so much for tolerance, right? And in Islam,
this was an outpost to those who warred. There's no tolerance there.
No.
It's a mosque.
It's a mosque.
Okay, read
It's
the
a
Why
verse.
burn it down?
Can somebody read the verse?
Fake mosque. It's a fake mosque.
It's not
Just
about
because
fake
you
mosque.
called it fakes does not make it less of a mosque.
No,
there is
look,
no
it
real
says-
mosque, by the way. They're all fake.
It was an outpost to those who waged war. Okay, it wasn't just a mosque.
So
Right.
it was a mosque
And
built
in the
by
same
people
in the
who
same
opposed
way,
you.
I would say
Okay.
that mosques in any country where they're being set up in order to be an outpost, a place where you start to launch a war from, they should be shut down. Okay, this is what it's talking about. This was a mosque, a place set up not to be a place of worship. It wasn't for it to be a place of worship. Okay, it was a place as a communal for those who wanted to continue the war. It says an outpost for those who waged war.
Okay, let me read you Abdul Halim, Prophet.
Yes, go ahead.
Pray in that. It's
Oh
going
no, 107. Sorry, well, maybe that's why the
107?
confusion. 107, 107.
This is a block between 7 to 10, by the way.
Build a mosque.
Just to keep your eyes open on the target here, between 107 to 110.
All right, it says the hypocrites build a mosque to cause harm. So it is a mosque.
Yeah, it's a mosque.
If he called it a mosque, it's got to be a mosque.
Yeah, read
Okay.
the verse. Read the verse, Anton.
Right. So if you order a mosque burned down because its teachings are wrong according to you,
So
you're
they
not being tolerant toward other religions.
Spread incredulity, divide the believers, and as a refuge for those who have fought against Allah and His Messenger.
Well, that's a mosque by any definition.
A mosque is a place where people is a refuge for those who fight against God as a messenger. That's a mosque. Sure, yeah. Come on.
Yes, it is.
It's a refuge for those who fight against God and His messenger.
No. The whole point is you cannot tell which side is right and which side is wrong. As far as I'm concerned, both of them are wrong, okay? Just because you gained a majority does not mean burn down the mosques of the other people who oppose you. Remember when had Allah, those who opposed Allah, this is their mosque, and now you're ordering it burned down. You're not tolerant.
No, you should not be tolerant of war.
You
efforts.
must be tolerant, otherwise.
No, not of war efforts.
Not if you're a majority, then you should not be tolerant. That's the true teaching of Islam. That is
mercy.
what it is. No mercy. If you disagree with Islam, no mercy to you. We will burn your mosque down. We will kill your leaders, and we chase you out of the land.
Yeah, it's just nonsense. I mean, anybody.
And that is the nonsense.
Says it was a mosque set up as an outpost for those who had waged war. Okay.
Ideological differences.
Ideological
differences. Yes.
No. حارب الله ورسوله من قبل. Quraysh, those who waged war against God and His messenger from before. Okay. It's not a place. It was set up to be a place of just worship.
Well, no mosque is ever a place of worship. When you gather your fighters and move towards the enemy from the mosque, it's not just a place of worship. It's a place of community. It's a place of gathering, like each and every mosque is, because that's what a community building is for. Okay, you are just merely saying that those people over there who disagree with me ideologically, we shall burn their mosque down.
No, it doesn't say disagree with them ideologically.
Yes, it does.
No,
in fact, the whole block is basically oozing of the ideological difference here.
Anyway, okay, let's move on.
Let's move on. 111.
God has purchased the persons and possessions of the believers in return for the garden. They fight in God's way. They kill and are killed. This is a true promise given by Him in the Torah, the Gospel, and the Quran. Who could be more faithful to His promise than God? So be happy with the bargain you have made. That is the supreme triumph.
What's your question, Aaron?
Was my question? My comment on this was, this surah praises believers of all three of these books, but the previous surah said that the believers in the other two books were damned to hell.
Yeah, they are, by the way. Allah promised those in the Torah, Bible, and Quran who would kill and be killed in the name of Allah, that they would go to heaven. Of course, neither the Bible followers nor the Torah followers fulfilled their promise, and they altered the they altered and adulterated their books, according to Islam, as the Quran have stated prior. Only the Quran followers, being preserved, of course, will have this sweet deal.
So, Aaron, sorry, you're saying that you're talking about the previous surah, Surah 5, that it was saying that all of those people will go to hell. But we read about how that surah was saying those who let the people of the Injil, of the gospel, establish what they have. And if they don't, they
Yes,
have
as I
kafirin.
said, I've sent the Ishaq Ibrahim wrote a comment on this from Tafsir, from Kathir, and talked and that spoke about how it's talking about the Christians and the Jews both being classified as idolaters, and that's why you go to war against them. It was a very long post. I couldn't share it in the private track because it was so long, so I included it in our email chain. So if you go check your email thread, it'll be there.
No, but I'm just saying, we in the previous surah, we all read that, right? We read how it was saying, let the people of the book establish what they have with them. Okay,
Mhm.
and in that previous surah, there was also the verse, those who are believers, those who are Jews, who are Christians, whoever, they will go to heaven.
When we discussed all that, we said, yeah, they can be Christians and they can be Jews, as long as they believe in the prophet, and as long as they don't associate God with children like Jesus, or they don't give God partners like Jesus, or Moses in the Jews' case, because they were I forget what the other name was, but anyway, as long as they're not Jewish anymore, as long as they don't practice Christianity, as long as they accept the Quran and the prophet, then become Muslim. They can still be they can still be Christian as long as they're not Christian, as long as they're Muslim.
Okay, if that's where you got from it, fine.
Okay. My next note is in 112, and if you had any doubts about 111 and what it says, 112 should absolutely evaporate those doubts.
The believers are those who turn to God in repentance, who worship and praise Him, who bow down and prostrate themselves who order what is good and forbid what is wrong, and who deserve God's limits.
Only the Muslims qualify for these.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it doesn't say the Muslims. I mean,
Look, just a second. It doesn't say the Muslims, but then it lists all the things that only the Muslims do to qualify.
No.
Okay,
So
let's look at Ta'ibun. Okay, Ta'ibun, fine. Ta'ibun from what? Into what? From anything else into Islam. That's the Tawbah. Otherwise, you wouldn't be Tawbah. If
you want to interpret it that way, fine. But it says Ta'ibun.
You only tube towards Islam. You don't tube towards other religions. At that point, I can do a Tawbah towards paganism. How about that?
You can do a Tawbah from any sin.
Okay. The sin is to leave the religion. That's the sin. Al-Abidun. Okay, so now I have to worship something. Al-Hamidun, those who are thankful. Sajidun, prostration. Al-Raki'un, right?
Yeah.
The bowing down is Sajidun. Okay? Again. Al-Amiruna bil-Ma'ruf wa-Nahuna 'anil munkar. Who's doing that? Where do you find the structure apart from the Quran? Hafizun al-Hududillah. Who are those who keep the hads of Allah? Those are the Muslims, because they are the ones who have those. Okay. Wallahu bashir al-mu'minin. So they have hope. Please tell them good news coming.
Right. He's talking about the believer, very clear. He's talking about Muslim.
It's about a Muslim believer. Exactly. You can define a Muslim believer with this verse and miss none.
No, so it's talking about al-mu'minun. There are mu'minun from the other faiths as well. Okay, in the Quran.
But they are mu'minun in the wrong faith.
No, they are still mu'minun. In other faiths.
What difference does it make? What difference does it make? What difference does it make, by the way?
And the difference it makes is he wants to make everything just good.
Yeah, we understand
it's clearly is not.
He's referring to Muslim or non-Muslim. He's saying what you should do to be a good person, whether he or she. We understand that.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be Muslim because some of these same qualities are mentioned of the Ahlul Kitab.
Okay, guys,
The
there is
non-Muslim do not bow down, do not prostrate, by the way.
No,
Please,
there are.
do
There
understand
are.
that.
I mean, for
Do
example, the
understand.
Jewish Orthodox Jewish, how they pray. Okay, they do have the sajda and ruku and everything.
They do not do
so
prostration. There's
they
no
do
such
do
thing.
prostration. No,
No,
they do.
they don't.
Anyways,
Anyways, guys, there's like 20 more verses in this surah and very short one afterwards. So can we finish this in this
Yep.
session?
We're almost done.
yes, we are going to finish. I only have 3 notes.
Let's go.
Me as well.
So, وبشر المؤمنين. We only have 3 notes.
Okay. Well, that's
Yeah.
3 notes for this one.
120.
120. Yes, that's my note.
Nice.
Yes,
Okay.
120. Please take it away then.
Oh, well, thank you. Okay, let me jump to 120. Okay, so the people of Medina and their neighboring desert Arabs should not have held back from following God's messenger, nor should they have cared about themselves more than him. If ever they suffer any thirst, weariness, or hunger in God's cause, take any step that angers the disbelievers, or cause any harm to an enemy, a good deed is recorded in their favor on account of it. God never wastes the reward of those who do good. And here I just had to make the note that once again it says that causing harm to the unbelievers is called doing good.
It is indeed being considered as doing good. Hurting the unbeliever is painted as good, but we need not be too astonished at this point now, do we?
So I have one of my versions in my language makes a expansion here because it's apparently it's a reference to something else that it's not mentioned, that it's the events on the way to Tabuk that are described. So by this time, Islam was really, really big. This time it was Muhammad was marching with like 30,000 people, and along it for so many people to be crossing the desert for hundreds of kilometers, it was very troublesome. They had to even start killing the camels just so they can survive. And I just want to point out that the whole thing in Tabuk, it was never really a battle. It was just a pissing contest with the Romans. So all of this was just for a pissing contest. All the camels that were killed and the trouble that people went through. Doesn't say a lot of wisdom in my eyes.
Yeah.
And the camels were killed just so people would drink their blood.
Yes.
Because that's how much thirsty they were.
I even read in the tafsir that some of them even started to eat the plants and getting sick from it because they didn't have anything else to eat, like eating leaves. So it was really bad for them, but they strived forward and followed Muhammad. Oh, I don't know. I don't find a lot of wisdom there.
Wow. There you go. But this is the book
Well, you're
of
talking
wisdom,
about
and
this sort
you're
of,
an atheist for that. You're going to hell.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, you're saying all of this was for a contest with the Romans. Well, first of all, when you go out to a battle, you don't know if there's going to be a battle or not. The more interesting thing, I think, is why didn't the Romans send out an army? Because Muhammad had arrived basically near to their doorstep with 30,000, right? And they didn't send anybody. Whereas the previous year in the Battle of Mu'tah, they had sent a lot of people. And my historical analysis of this is because, again, Abu Sufyan and the leaders of Quraysh had met with Hirqal, and they had assured him that they were going to assassinate Muhammad on this expedition. So he didn't send an army. So they didn't send him. Now, one good thing that came out of Tabuk, of course, is the treaties that Muhammad made with some of the northern tribes. But to say, you can't say, okay, something was what's happened in hindsight, and say, well, there's not wisdom in there. It's something which was done, right? And it was good that there was no battle that happened. I mean, that was actually a good thing in the end.
Everything is a good thing as long as it happened the way it happened, remember?
I understand.
It is the ad hoc justification of everything.
But it's not only that, but I understand what you mean, Khalid. But who would know that there was not going to be any battle? Allah would know. He would have. He could have spared them, wouldn't he?
I don't understand. So you're saying the fact that they're marching north and the northern tribes being scared away from attacking Medina, because that was the fear. The fear was that the Assassins were going to attack Medina. So they're marching north, which stopped them from, from congregating and coming down because they scattered. Ghassan, the northern tribes, Ghassan and other smaller tribes came up and made treaties with Muhammad. Okay, so you're saying that the fact that they went up and that caused happen because of they marched north, that happened. God should have known that would happen if they had marched north, so they shouldn't have been told to march north. It doesn't make sense. These are the events that happened. It's just that's just the events that happened. There's no
next
sense in saying anything about it.
Anyway.
Next, 123 is my next note. I don't know if anybody wants to talk about 122.
Well, let me mention something quick. If this is correct, what's described in 122, well, if I'm correct about it, is that Muhammad is trying to keep plenty of Muslims left to continue spreading Islam. That's why it says not all of them will come to fight at the same time.
Right. So if every honking Muslim goes out to fight and they die in the battlefield in the glory of Allah and they all go to heaven, there will be no people left to spread the word around after that. So he says, keep some people at home so they can teach it. Anyways,
can reach and remain the message intact. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, I want to make a very clear point here. Something interesting and amazes me. Does God has to interfere with Muhammad, tell him how to keep, what to keep, and he knows best. So he get to the point to tell him, well, make sure you keep some people behind. Otherwise, your message might be just lost altogether. So that's my question. If God really need to interfere in this way, so I feel he is a very, very, I don't know, he's not all-knowing God at all, because he knew what's going to happen, at least. Nevertheless, Muhammad has got a wisdom. He is all the best he ever could send. He does not say anything wrong. So why does he need to interfere and tell them to keep some behind? Could somebody answer that?
Well, I mean, this is not directed at Muhammad. It doesn't say, Ya ayyuha Rasul, keep behind some of that. No, it's saying, Ma kana lil mu'minin. It isn't for the faithful that they should all just go out. From every portion, there should be some who stay behind so that they can gain knowledge of the deen, religion, so then they can warn people when they come back. So this is one of those things which is a general idea, right? General idea that not every able-bodied person should always go out and fight in case they all die. You should always have some people who are knowledgeable or, who will stay behind and learn. So
we can divert and say it's a generic. No, it is not, because everything in the Quran, to start with, our role model is the Prophet. So it is maybe generic, but that is issued at a particular time when people are supporting Muhammad for a particular battle. So that is a very specific. If you want to make it generic, so yeah. So what is telling us? Leave some people behind. Are we so stupid that we go all together, and we finish all together, and we leave something behind?
Well, it did happen, didn't it? It happened in the Battle of Yamama, where so many of the
in that case, those people who God addressing are absolutely, unfortunately, either naive or stupid people, because even non-believers don't do that. So there's an issue here. Okay.
Yeah, well, so this was required. This verse was required, and unfortunately, the Muslims didn't follow it when it came to the Battle of Yamama. They sent so many of the reciters of the Quran to Yamama, and so many of them died. Right. So this verse was needed. Okay, and you're saying, are they so stupid?
Well, no,
you're saying they were stupid.
Let's not forget, God says He will preserve the Quran, irrespective who dies and who is left behind. So if he said he's going to guaranteed to preserve the Quran irrespective. So he cannot say, I preserve the Quran, but do that for me to protect it. He cannot do that. If he does that, so
right. That's a wrong verse. Okay, fine.
It's a zikr. Anyway, that's my point. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go on to
So
the
the zikr is not the Quran now.
Yeah, the dhikr is not the Quran.
We have moved. You must be. I beg your pardon. I assume you are a Qurani, which is you just stick with the Quran interpretation. Nevertheless, I do accept.
He's only a Quran when it suits his purposes. Okay, 1, 2, 3, please. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu. Oh, those who believe, right? That's the Muslims, I guess. Fight, as in combat, against those who are unbelievers and who live near you. If your neighbor or the one in the next country are unbelievers, you قاتلوا الذين يلونكم من الكفار وَلِيَجِدُوا فِيكُمْ غِلْظَةً, and they need to find in you roughness. You have to treat them rough, even though you're qatil. So when you fight them roughly. وَعَلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ مَعَ, and you should know that Allah is supporting you on this. 1, 2, 3.
I have a comment on this, very important. Well, for me, if God, what Muslim apologists say that this means defend yourself. I think God is the least knowledgeable to say, "Oh, you believe, defend yourself." He could have used that word very clearly. Qatilu mean go and fight. All those around you. He did not say those who attacked you. He did not say those who came to assault you. He did not say those whom you really need to kill because you've got a threat or something. He said simply go and fight all those non-believers around you. Anything else would be just a twisting the neck of the verse to support apologetic Muslims, saying it's for the defending. This verse is for Muslims to defend themselves. That's that point I need to make very clear.
Yeah, and of course I'll make the opposite point, because this verse goes under all of the other verses which say قاتلوا في سبيل الله الذين يقاتلونكم.
No, it doesn't say that. No. It says that those who just near you, who are close.
Let's stick with 1, 2, 3 now. Let's stick with 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3 is all the kuffar who are within reach.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep,
Okay, so let me just say, because this again comes back to the same issue, right? The Quran is saying fight against those who fight you. All the later verses come under that umbrella, okay, including this one. And they end in the same way. So that one says, fight in the way of God against those who fight you, but do not aggress. Truly God loves not the aggressors. لا يحب المعتدين.
This
and
verse
in the Quran,
does not say anything
hold on, Bogi, hold on. Khalid, I'm a little confused. I mean, over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, this thing talks about how the unbelievers are bound to hell, that the worst sin that one can commit is disbelief, that the only sin that cannot be forgiven is disbelief, that being mistreating the unbelievers is equated to doing good. And here it says elsewhere, fight them if they fight you, and then also just fight them. Fight the unbelievers and be rude to them, and that is good. Is it your contention that it's not? The whole summary argument is it doesn't say what it says?
No, the summary argument is, as you would put list points in a contract, let's say, clause 1, clause 2, clause 3, clause 4. When you get to clause 4, you don't disregard clause 1. You don't disregard the opening statements, okay? From the beginning, from the start of when the verses of fighting were revealed to the Muslims, and they were told how to conduct themselves in warfare, they were told from the beginning, only fight against those who fight you. All subsequent battles, or any other fighting mentioned in the Quran, is to be taken as against already those who have already fought you. Now, at the ending of this verse also, makes it a bit clear as well, because it says, وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ مَعَ الْمُتَّقِينَ, and know that God is with the muttaqeen. The muttaqeen in the Quran is very often, always, the opposite of the aggressors, right? So in the Quran you have, taqwa and the i'tida. These are opposites. Aggression is the opposite of taqwa. So it's saying, know that God is with those who are not aggressors, right?
Okay, except
so those who were aggressors, in this case, if you find that those who are fighting, those who are around them, who are not aggressors, God is not with them, because God is with the muttaqeen, who do not aggress.
I need to disagree 180% here to make sure. Sorry,
Yeah,
Make
me
As long as you
too.
understand what I said, I don't mind you agreeing.
Can I? Would you like me to say something here?
Yes, go ahead, Talal. Sorry.
Please. Let's talk Arabic, okay? You and I understand Arabic. يا أيها الذين آمنوا قاتلوا الذين يلونكم من الكفار. It does not say anything, fight those who fight you. Now, if you want to link this with another verse, there's a problem with the Quran. Each verse on the Quran is a clear instruction, even if you take two words on its own, as long as the verse is completed. So that is a very clear instruction. If you want to link it to another verse, we have a big problem, because now you do not believe in abrogation. Now we don't believe in updating. Now we don't believe in contradiction. So let's take this on its own. It does not say at all those who fight you. وَلْيَجِدُوا فِيكُمْ غِلْظَةً, and let them see that you are really severe and tough. وَاعْلَمُوا, and know, and be sure, and understand that God was the righteous, muttaqeen. The word ittaqa, he worship and he feared God. It does not say exactly muttaqeen what you've explained it, none whatsoever. Now, if you want to take words from the 1.3 million vocabulary in the Arabic and put it in the Quran to suit, you could do that. But muttaqeen, if you ask 100 Muslims, 99 will answer you righteous. They would not answer you what you have said. Okay, sir? Let's be very clear with that.
Let me make it clear for you, okay? So, i'tida and then mu'tadeen in the Quran, in the Quranic language, right, is the opposite of al-i'tida, okay? So, for example, there's a verse which God says, تعاونوا على البر والتقوى ولا تعاونوا على الإثم والعدوان. Bir is the opposite of ism, and udwan is the opposite of taqwa. And there's another thing, a piece of research which I did myself. If you count the verses where God says whom he loves and whom he doesn't love, you find that God says that he loves the muttaqeen a certain number of times, and the mu'tadeen he does not love the same number of times. They are opposites. In the Quran, these two terms are opposites. You cannot be a muttaqi if you are a mu'tadi. You cannot. These are on opposite ends. Just like you can't be a bar if you are asim. You cannot be a sinner. And if
then
you're
1, 2, 3 should not
person.
be in the Quran, right?
Sorry?
Then 1, 2, 3 should not be in the Quran.
1, 2, which one? 1, 2, 3.
9,
This
1,
verse.
2, 3.
No, it should be in the Quran.
Why?
What do you mean why? It's part of
Why?
this.
You just reasoned it out of the Quran.
I did not reason it out of the Quran.
You just did. You spent 3 minutes doing it.
I'm saying that this is still in the context of those who fight you. And at the end of it, it says God is with those who are muttaqeen. The muttaqeen can never be mu'tadeen. They can never be aggressors.
Okay, if somebody prints this on a piece of paper and sends it to another village as an order, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah,
what would happen is that they would understand that muttaqeen should never be those who are aggressors. God is with
there is no aggression mentioned in this verse at all.
And a muttaqi, a person who is righteous, should never be an aggressor. Should never start war.
No. These are the
muttaqi. Would you say a righteous person should start wars? Is that what you're saying?
Well, that's what it says. You
no, it's not saying that.
Should go after the unbelievers near you. And you
not the unbelievers, not that you should react to the unbelievers who are attacking you, not that you should defend yourself against the unbelievers who are attacking you, but that you should go to those who are near you and kill them.
Yeah, and whoever does it is not from the muttaqeen. God is not with them.
This is, but it's called them, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu.
Yeah, and then it says, know that God is with the muttaqeen.
Well, he doesn't say do not be a soldier.
What the hell are you doing?
He said he knew, God knows that he is with those righteous or with those who do not attack other for nothing.
Okay, let's
spend another hour on this. Anyway,
you should know the God is a muttaqin. But yeah, let's continue. I want to mention just
there is no muttaqin here, dude. I don't even know what you're reading, but it says
muttaqin. What do you mean there's no muttaqin?
Okay. I need to ask you to go to any Arabic dictionary and find out what is al-muttaqin says. Come back.
I know what they say, and I know what the Quran says.
If you know what this says, can you read any verse of it, please?
What do you
mean? Any Arabic dictionary write the word muttaqin.
Look,
All
never
of
mind.
them will tell you are the righteous people.
The dictionaries were all written later.
Is
Okay,
that
the
so? So there is
Quran
no
is
reference apart from your reference. Understood?
no. Look, no. I explained to you a very simple verse where you can
You
see what the
explain
meaning
your
of
opinion,
muttaqin.
which
You
we
did not
disagree with.
explain it. You tortured it and you twisted its head off.
Okay,
Guys,
let's
Guys,
let it
Anyway,
go.
my
Okay,
next note is
let's
Let's
carry
move
on.
on. Let's
126.
move
Let's
on.
go
Let's
to
move on.
126,
Let's
please.
move on.
Aaron,
Let's-
read your notes on 126.
All right,
move on.
126. Can they not see that they are afflicted once or twice a year? Yet they neither repent nor take heed. And my note was, I wondered what this referred to, so I checked with IslamicStudies.info, and they said during the course of every year, such circumstances are created as to test once or twice their claim to the faith, and these disclosed that their profession of Islam was like a counterfeit coin. For example, sometime their faith is tested by A, a commandment in the Quran which lays some new restriction on their lust, or by B, a demand of the faith that hits hard on their self-interests, by an internal dispute which discloses their preference for worldly interests or their personal, family, and clannish relations to Allah. This messenger, his messenger, and the faith, or by D, a war that requires the sacrifice of their lives, wealth, and time and energies. All these help bring to the open the filth of hypocrisy that lay hidden in their hearts under the garb of the profession of Islam. My note on that was, so it seems that a couple of times a year, a new surah is added that demands just a little bit more of an unconscionable sacrifice than it already did. This is to be expected of any attempt to secure absolute control over the people, even of their thoughts as well as possessions. But they should notice that no new surahs are still being added to the supposedly timeless message that was already been out of date or out of its time for 1400 years.
Yes, so my comment on that, do note that surahs were being added at the time of Muhammad, since he was the one making them up and adding them to the Quran, including this surah and the one after it. So the time this surah speaks of is the time of Muhammad still alive, right? It's not today. Today, there are no surahs being added.
Unless you count the hadiths as that, because
Hadiths
somebody's
are
still,
not surahs.
yeah,
They
but
are,
somebody's still adding notes. All right.
okay, that was my last note on this surah.
Very good. I'm so happy to be done with Surah 9. And we
Let me
finally
just
go.
add.
What?
Sorry, I want to add something. It's been a bit niche. The last two surah, the last two verses of this are actually rejected by some of the Quranists who follow somebody called Rashad Khalifa. What he did is he said that there's a numerical pattern in the Quran of 19, and that shows that these last two verses are actually not part of the Quran, and they were basically not part of the Quran or added later. That's just something which I thought
So
some people would find
numerology.
interesting.
So where did
Sorry?
they come from?
Sorry?
Where
I
did
don't
they come
believe it. I
from?
don't accept it, but
No,
that's what they say.
please
They say that
not
these were
mention
added.
such a thing. That will take us into very deep holes.
Gotcha.
Absolutely ridiculous. I understand that.
Gotcha.
Okay,
Okay.
last
So the
chapter.
the very last chapter, please, the very freaking last chapter of this book,
Yay!
unfurling the snake,
Yeah, the
reading it in the chronological order. This is the tip of the tail.
109?
110.
110.
110. Okay.
An-Nasr, which means winning.
Yeah, victory, winning, and some people say support. Now,
that's weird because the translator that I read says that this chapter is help.
Yes, Ansar means the ones who supported Muhammad when he migrated to Medina, who supported him there, right? So that's a use of the word for sure. But if you want a Nasr, that's a victory, that's a winning, right? Even in Egypt today, they name a car brand a Nasr because the October Wars, they consider it a win. So it's not a support car, it's a win car, right? Because that's what, brand name your cars with. So to your point,
They also translated fatah as victory, but it actually means conquering.
yes,
Conquer or support, God's support to Muhammad and the mu'mineen, Muslimin. I think I would go with support as well.
yeah,
this entire
I wouldn't
surah.
go against the support thing. I would just say this is about winning.
So
Right.
is it talking about Battle of Mecca?
I think so.
just to help
That's what the reasons of it when
Yeah,
they
just to help the viewers out. I mean, this entire surah consists of 2 sentences, so I'm going to read them.
Yes.
When God's help comes and He opens up your way, prophet. When you see people embracing God's faith in crowds, celebrate the praise of your Lord and ask His forgiveness. He is always ready to accept repentance.
Great.
And that's all she said.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this surah regarding regarding the surah order, this was actually revealed at Hudaybiyah, and the
Was it
Fath here is
Hudaybiyah
again.
or opening Mecca, conquering
No.
Mecca? I thought.
Yeah, there's 2 narrations about that, and I have a reason why I think the opening of Mecca is pushed. But most of like for example, there's a narration where the companions said, the Sahaba of the Prophet, they would say to those who came later, you guys consider the Fath to be the Fath of Mecca, but the Fath, according to us, the companions of Muhammad, is the Fath of Hudaybiyah.
Well, we have 2 different. Understand. It doesn't matter either.
Yeah.
Either
So,
of them. 2 different.
No, it matters in terms of just the surah order, and I think it's obvious it must be because the Fath here is, of course, it mentions the Fath, which is what's mentioned in Surah 48, which is the opening of Hudaybiyah. And of course, after the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, that's when people entered the religion in crowds. So that's when there was exponential increase in the number of Muslims. So that when the conquest of Mecca happened, it was with 10,000 people. And then after that, Tabuk was 30,000 people, and the final Hajj was 100,000 people. So I think it's very clear that this is much earlier than it's not the last surah revealed, basically.
So when you see the people getting
can be said equally after the conquer or the opening of Mecca, a lot of tribe went into religion because they feared Muhammad. So equally, it can be said. In fact, there is no actual numbers, as you said, after Hudaybiyah. It's only what we were told. We cannot testify to these numbers. But equally, well, a lot of tribe went into Muhammad with Muhammad's religion, accepted his religion after opening of Mecca. In fact, Mecca herself, which is around few thousand, 20,000, they say at the time, they all had to have 3 choices, either Abu Sufyan or to say the Shahadatain, or just to go to the Kaaba and hold in the star of Kaaba. So we understand that. I think if you talk about numbers, it is after Mecca where people start to go into Islam, accepting Muhammad's message in quite exponential number. Well, that's what we
No, that's also true, like I said, but the exponential increase started before that. It started at Hudaybiyah.
Right.
Because if you look at the numbers, just in terms of just who he had in his army, the numbers he had in his army, they were consistent up to Hudaybiyah.
Let's go back to the thematic approach of a surah here, because this happens to be a surah. There are no abrogations in this one, because it is the last chapter of the Quran, unless it abrogates itself, which it didn't in 3 verses.
Yeah.
Al-Fath does not necessitate a fight. I thought that would coming up. You could take a city without a fight. They could just capitulate to you and hand you the keys. It's like to translate Nasr as victory, as it is commonly used in the language, though Ansar are translated as supporters and allies. Verse 2 is when you see the people entering the Islamic faith in droves. Well, having no other option, remember, believe or taste the sword is one of the pragmas here. And then you should rejoice and be happy. That's all this surah says. And it basically brings the end to the book.
I also want to say that it doesn't make sense that this is from Hudaybiyah, because Hudaybiyah was a defeat in every perspective possible.
Yeah,
Well, whether you consider it a
either
defeat
Right.
or not,
Trying to tie the Quranic verses into certain events helps in some ways sometimes, but it's often misleading because these verses, unless they are specific to the time and place, they are not specific to the time and place, right?
Yeah, I heard-
Otherwise, if that would be true and everything is specific to time and space, then the Quran is an obsolete document and nobody should even bother reading it.
I heard somebody start to make a comment. Who was going to say something?
yeah, no, I was just saying that even if you consider Hudaybiyah to be a defeat, this person is not. Sorry, what's your name, my friend?
Adam.
Adam. Even if you consider Hudaybiyah to be a defeat, it doesn't. It's irrelevant in terms of linking this surah to Al Hudaybiyah, because if you accept that Surah 48, which says, you know, Inna fatahna laka fatha mubina, we have given you a fath. If you accept that's Hudaybiyah, okay, then you can accept that in this surah the fath is also Hudaybiyah. So whether you consider it to be a defeat or not, okay, the Quran certainly considered Hudaybiyah to be a victory.
Okay.
They considered it to be a clear victory, that peace treaty.
All right. So everybody here, does anybody want us to, since we are finally at the end of this miserable thing, anybody like to make any last comments, and we'll close it up? I almost want to have an after party with something like this, but I'm insanely busy right now. I've got so much stuff on my plate I can't even count it all. So
Yeah, I would
final
like
comments.
to. Yeah, I'll start if anybody want to start. If not, I'll start.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we're talking about the 110, this particular surah, that obviously when Allah victory and conquest come, and you see the people entering Allah religion in crowds. Well, that's what wasn't the case. That as soon as Muhammad died, Bani Hanifa, which is one of the biggest tribe, around 20,000 of them apostates. So they did not go into crowds, and somehow the author of the Quran has failed to mention this. Okay, he didn't say that immediately after Muhammad and Abu Bakr sent Khalid bin Walid, there was a very big issue here because one of them, Malik ibn Nuwayra, who was the leader of these tribes, he says, well, we're not paying zakat anymore because your prophet, your friend, or your sahibukum, your acquaintance, your prophet has died, and why should we pay anymore? So his head was cut off and it was cooked and it was eaten by Khalid at that day, and his wife was assaulted, was raped. Now that is this particular verse, particular story, Muslims do not deny. Very few of them denied. So it looks like that particular verse is not really proper. Is not right, because as soon as that Muhammad died, all those who came into crowds, they left into crowd as well. So I need to mention that, which is something worthwhile. This one thing. The other thing is, I have seen the other point I would like to make, with due respect to everyone, there is hardly any impartiality here. When we talk, we try to explain not only from our understanding, from the experience, from our knowledge in the Arabic, but if we need to twist the Arabic vocabulary to explain the Quran or to try to demonstrate what the Quran is all about, we could make it the best divine book ever. Anybody, and that's why the 43 interpreter tried to preserve its holiness as such. None of them has criticized, or none of them has said there's contradiction, although there is tons and dozens of contradiction and mistakes on the Quran. So we didn't see any of them highlight because they were worried, they were frightened, they were totally brainwashed to preserve the Quran authenticity, not to preserve, to make sure it is a divine irrespective. So we didn't see any, but I myself, in the Arabic, I translated the Quran, said Arawundi interpretation. Hopefully I'll do that in English soon. And in that particular, every verse, every ayah in the Quran, I have tried to criticize from 3 points of view: logic and reason, science, and the human nature. and none of them really fit with the Quran as such. Okay. The other thing we have put as such, we are the people who think we put 9 criteria to judge what the Quran is all about. To start with is the morality of the Quran. Second, it was the biggest platform to advertise about God and Muhammad, 2,600 times Allah mentioned in the Quran. Third, it's the unfair judgment. Those who associate anything with God or anyone with God, they will be for hell forever, to replace their skins every time it cooked. Fourth, Muhammad's special privilege, which he's got around 12 special privileges that nobody has enjoyed. Fifth, the stories, 24 stories in the Quran, what they call al-qasas. They are totally fairy tale. None of them has a place or a time. None of them. They refer, it's only interpretation, 6 and 7 and 8 and 9. So I put those 9 criteria. We try to, under that particular microscope of criteria, the Quran utterly failed under each one of them. We judge impartially or unbiased about this. So this point I want to make very clear. I put that in the book, and the first book and the second book, The God Delusion. You could download it and see. I put around 95 pages about the Quran, as well as I have explained there is no scientific miracle in the Quran. There is no prediction in the Quran. There is full of contradiction on all fronts. So if you want to go further, understand what the Quran is all about, please have a look at my book and you'll see it all there. Thank you very much.
Yeah, there's a comment. There's a comment in the chat from Muhammad Qasim, who just joined us late in this show, and I'm sorry, Muhammad. This is the very last episode. It's been going on for 3.5 years. Been doing it every couple of weeks for 3.5 years, and this is the very end of the very last show. So I apologize for that. I do intend to compile notes on it and make those into a book called An Infidel Reads the Quran, but that's still 2 or 3 months away because I have to go edit about previous shows and take other notes and such. Anyway, anybody else want to make a final comment?
Well, I'd like to just mention one thing. I mean, the story that Talal mentioned about Malik having his head cut off, cooked and eaten, I've never heard that before. I don't think anybody else accepts it. But anyway, I think that it will be very useful for anybody who's, for example, watching this now, and maybe like this person who just heard about this series now and wants to watch it from the beginning. One useful thing you could do, because the attempt was to read it in chronological order. So another useful thing you could do is read a biography of the Prophet with it. So as you listen, you could have a biography of the Prophet, and sort of like you have both levels of seeing. Sort of like if you're reading the Quran in historical order, you could also be reading the biography of the Prophet to go with that. The other thing is, I would say, Aaron, it will be very useful, I think, if you could have an academic come on. So a Quran scholar academic, so that the Quranic studies is a secular department in many universities. So you have some actual some pretty famous, pretty astute academics who work on the Quran. Maybe, I don't know if you'd want to or not, but I think it would be very useful to have a secular academic come on, and you can speak to him about the Quran, and you're reading through it and ask him whatever questions you want and that sort of thing. So I think that's something that would be very useful, because the Quran is one of the first. I mean, mentioning what Allah said about the language and interpreting and twisting words and stuff. No, I mean, the Quran is the earliest source for Arabic. We have nothing earlier other than rock inscriptions. It's the first book in
Objection.
Arabic. Okay, you will come to your objection, but it is the first actual book in Arabic.
Big objection.
Okay, yes.
Let him finish, sir.
I'm trying to hold myself.
Bogey, please.
Hold a little bit longer. Yeah. So it is the earliest source for Arabic. Okay, so when you want to analyze Arabic terms, some of the words we need to look at in the Quran. Also, the Quran actually invented new terms. It brought words into the forefront which weren't around before. Even the words of kufr, iman, nifaq, these words were not in common use by the Arabs beforehand, as far as we can tell from the Arabic poetry, which was all recorded after the Quran, of course, right? So it was all narrations. But anyway, putting all that aside, I just want to say it would be a good thing to have an academic. There's a YouTube channel called Exploring the Bible and the Quran by a very famous professor in those studies, Dr. Gabriel Reynolds. So he's got a YouTube channel where he brings on a lot of academics who discuss the Quran and the Bible and different things like that. So maybe you could reach out to him and invite him on, or at least he could recommend to you other people, other scholars who would be happy, secular academics who would be happy to come along and discuss the Quran. So that's just my last take on that. If anybody's interested in hearing more from me, I've got my own YouTube channel, and you can come and check that out. It's by the same name, Quranic Islam. Just type down to YouTube and you'll find me. So yeah, that's it. And just thank you to everybody in the panel, the people who aren't here, Diana, Mubarak, and thank you, Aaron, for having me. I know it's been stressful sometimes, but I appreciate the patience everybody's been showing. So thank you for that.
All right. Anybody else want to say anything?
Aaron, if I may, I'm really selfish, and I may have a suggestion you might like, because not everyone is here. I'm going to miss this series, and I'm going to miss the people in the panel. As you said, you would like to do an after show. Maybe there's a possibility when you're back to do kind of a recap with the people who have been on the panel for a long time. Maybe that.
Well, maybe we'll do some kind of a hangout for it then, and I'll I don't know if there was somebody that wanted to join the chat. I just read a post from him. What was it, Muhammad Qasim? Muhammad Qasim, if you'd like to be on, contact Peter. Get on the email list, and maybe we'll do it. We'll do a hangout, and you can be there. Anyway, that's a good idea.
I just want to say that criticizing the Quran or any book, religious or not, is everybody's right, and that's why I'm.
Yeah, I want to say thank you everyone for being on the panel. As a former Muslim who believed in this book and used to read it pretty much like once every month at least, I used to not read it critically. I used just to read it because it's considered a good deed. But as Anton said, we need to look at things and look at them as in a critical view. And once you start doing this, it shows many things. One of them that at least, and I said this many times on the show, at least the claim that the Quran is a clear book. Well, that just the discussions we had here, just the fact that the majority of Sunni understand it in a certain way, and we have Quranic people or people who believe in a little bit of hadith, like Khalid has a different way of understanding it, and us people who don't believe look at it and understand it a totally different way. It just goes to show you that this is not a clear book.
I was also seeing somebody in the chat named Moonlight Reveries, who was also fighting with rationalizing faith and being born into one aspect of Islam and realizing that he got that his sect got something wrong. I don't remember which, it was Sunni versus Shia, whatever. But there was some good posts that I mentioned that I found from Moonlight Reveries. So thank you for that. And are we ready to close it up?
Arun, can you give me a couple of minutes to summarize something important?
Sure.
Right. Well, this is based on my 5 years study, me and other people trying to be impartial. When we left the Islam, the first thing we looked at Muhammad behavior and the Quran. But because Muhammad behavior is something there is always debate about it, the Quran is with us. And we ended up with 9 criteria, which is I have elaborated fully if anybody wants to see. First of all, the huge contradictions, absurdity, brutal punishment and torture, description, vague language and hate verses, inequalities and discrimination,
legislation, pseudoscience, verses that have been abrogated, stories and texts plagiarized from other religion, as well as several foreign non-Arab words. There is 250 words non-Arabic in the Quran. A fantastical version of heavenly rewards. Muhammad hatred, revenge, lust, marital affair, looting, atrocities, misogynistic, and legislation propaganda. That's what we found the Quran is all about. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I guess that's it. Thank everybody involved. Thank you to everybody that's been following us. But to be completely frank, I'm glad it's over. All right. And Majestic Beck gave $20 Canadian, says, thank you, Aaron and guest, for a very entertaining and informative series. It has been a great way for me to spend my Sundays. Can't wait for the next project. Thank you. And I'm thinking about doing a blasphemy Bible series where we just read, where we do something similar with the Bible.
Nice.
All right. Thank you much, everyone.
Thanks, Arun. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for having me.
We'll miss you, sir.
Okay. Take care, everyone.